and other times it waits like a full minute or two.
And if there's ever been a day to be cautious.
Yeah.
Today is that day.
I will explain what happened before the show once the show started proper, you guys. Jesus Christ. That's why we're starting so late. It's all my fault.
Is. Yeah, it's not my fault this time. I just want to be clear about that. Cluze was on time this time.
Yeah, they were both here before I was even. I was getting unnaked.
Which we appreciate, by the way. Thank you.
Yeah. I took a quick shower before we started the show.
Jay Spencer, tomorrow's your 19th year anniversary. Nice.
Dude, nice.
Very nice.
All right, you think we're there?
I mean, it hasn't been a minute yet, so I'm gonna go to like a minute and a half.
All right, fair.
Do I have drink? I do have drink. It's literally right here in front of me. Jesus.
Good job.
I'm not supposed to be mentally exhausted until after this show. What the hell?
I mean, you had to do battle.
Well, if it's any consolation, I know this will mean something to you guys. I don't know that it'll mean much to the rest of the viewers, but I know you guys will understand. So I had to give my climate change talk today.
Oh God.
So I already feel like my face has just been leaned against, a grindstone.
You were against it, right?
2 hours. I was, in fact,
Okay.
against the climate change. Yeah.
It's important to check.
Glad my co-hosts are supportive. I don't think I'd make it through the day otherwise.
I mean, yeah, I know how much you hate that, and why'd you do it today?
It's where it fell in the material.
Oh, God, that's
I
awful.
generally do it as we're discussing terrestrial planets. We talk about Earth. We talk about Mercury, which doesn't really factor into the story. Then you talk about the runaway reverse greenhouse effect on Mars, and you talk about the runaway greenhouse effect on Venus, and then you circle back to Earth and you go, hey, you know that thing that we're doing here? It might be really dumb, and we should maybe not do that. So it's kind of just the perfect time to do it.
Yeah.
I also wanted to make sure to get that talk in before November so that anybody who was going to, not bother voting might actually consider voting for someone who understood science, because I thought that would be neat.
That would be neat, it turns out.
Just everywhere on the ballot, all the way up and down, maybe talk about the ones who actually understand.
Yeah, look up who all the other people in your ballot are, too, by the way.
Yeah.
You've got time.
Make some informed decisions.
And read all your propositions and stuff and figure out what it's actually saying, because they're
I know what
worded
they
in
really
such a way to sound better than they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, show, story?
Yeah. Now
Story.
we've been recording for 3 minutes, so we're good to go.
Is it going to be OJam then the story, or the story then OJam? How we doing?
Well, no, OJam is always the beginning.
All right, hit me.
Well, first, hang on. I have to thank Rafe Gall, who just subbed for the 13th month. And then I had a hiccup. Hang on. Excuse me.
I'm the dork, and you're the palindrome. Nice.
Okay, here we go. Oh, wait, we should all make a face of some sort. Everybody look at the camera very seriously, because this is the last episode. It's very serious. And then Saint Saigal subbed and messed it up. What is that? 19 months. Nice. All right, here we go. Everybody, look at the camera again so I can get a thumbnail capture. Is that serious enough? Should we do something else?
Yeah, I suppose that is kind of an intense. I think I am gonna. I'm pretty sus. You're right.
Yeah. Okay, fine. Here we go. Ow, jam! Hello, everyone, and welcome to Monday Night Magic. This is Monday Night Magic number 700. And hopefully,
Not a small laugh.
Hopefully you caught last week's news that this is going to be the end, at least for now. More on that later. We have to actually talk about the news first.
It is a show about magic. It's right there in the name.
Yeah. So, I am Chewie.
He is.
It's true.
You can tell. It says it right under me.
It does.
And
He's labeled.
over there, we have Squee.
Yeah, it's right there.
And then way over there, we have Cluze.
Hey.
And I say way over there because, well, he's in a different state.
I
Sure,
am,
it's
yeah.
pretty far away.
Yeah, that's why he's way over there. And random K throw hoed 100 bits and said, join us next week for Monday Night Magic episode 700.1. I'm sure there's a joke in there somewhere.
Yeah, I'm sure there is.
That's the one that's about layers, right?
I was gonna say I don't know what section 700.1 is. I gotta go look it up. I'll be right with you.
Oh Lord. So yeah, hi. I'm frazzled. Should I tell a quick story now?
You should tell the story
just
like
go ahead.
right.
Okay, so this is, as we said, the last Monday Night Magic, at least for now. And I get, so a couple days ago, Windows for the last, I don't know, 2-3 weeks has been like, hey, you have to install this new Windows version. And I'm like, no. And finally, it stopped giving me the option to turn it down. And it was like, you have to install this. And I went, fine. So I installed it. And then we sit down to do the show. And I turn on the Eminem scene that you're seeing here, what you see. And my camera was non-existent. And I said, where's my camera? So I go in and screw with settings. And my camera was way dark. And I said, what is going on? And I realized that I just installed a major Windows update. So, of course, either the audio or the video is going to be screwed up. So I go and find the drivers, and I put it on a different driver that I think is the right one. And it says, you have to restart your computer. And I went, So I tell the guys, I'll be back in a second. I restart the computer. The computer, it's restarted like 3 times in the last couple days because of these Windows updates. The computer restarts and goes, oh, hey, you've got a hard drive going bad. I know that. That's why I bought a replacement like a month or so ago. And I've already transferred everything I want from it. I just haven't opened up the computer to unplug it yet, right? And it goes, hey, you've got a hard drive going bad. Let's fix it! And I went, wait, what?
I really wish there was a recording of Cluze and I listening to this story play out over the phone.
It was pretty great.
Yeah, I called back into our Discord server from my phone and was like, what the hell?
Because he has no proof otherwise, I'm going to claim that Squee and I were nothing but supportive during all of this.
Mostly. But so I had to I went into the BIOS, I unplugged it because I don't care if it crashes the drive has already crashed. So I unplugged the computer, plugged it back in, went into the BIOS to try to stop or disable that drive or something or make it, and I couldn't find that in my BIOS. I don't know if that's an option. I don't know, but I couldn't find it. So they were like, well, you're going to have to just physically unplug the hard drive. I was like, I know. And I realized I have no idea which hard drive is the bad one. I've got 3 actual like platter hard drives and 1 solid state drive. And I went, I don't need any of them except the C drive, which is a solid state drive. So I'm just going to unplug everything. So I unplugged everything and then booted back up, and I lost the background image on this scene. So I had to go find a new one because of course I did, but everything else has been on the C drive. So that's good. And then we started the show and chat is like, Chewie, we can't hear you because OBS was like default microphone input, none. And I went, what? So I don't know if the odds and ends are even usable for this last episode, but isn't that just fitting?
That sounds right, honestly. That's the experience.
Yeah. So that's why we're 9:30 starting this last show. We got on the call at like 8:03.
What we really need is that old Manipool glitch where all 3 of our voices get desynced over the course of the episode.
Oh, God, no.
And then people try to listen to it anyway.
Oh, God, those were nightmare days. I used to record in like discrete chunks because I found that the longer the recording went, the worse it got. So every like 30 minutes, I would stop the recording and start it again.
Yeah. It was just always fun because Mike would desync from the rest of you somehow. And so it would be like, you ask Mike a question, really awkward pause. You're like, right? And then he explains it. And the timing didn't really get better as it went on, but it was pretty funny.
But anyway, we got everything fixed. Started the show. super late, and it wasn't Cluze's fault.
It's true.
It wasn't.
For once. So
for this time at least, and indeed at most.
So if I seem frazzled before the show even starts, it's because I'm frazzled before the show even starts.
It's true.
But anyway, so Magic news.
Yeah,
Magic news.
Magic news. All right,
here we are.
Let's do it.
I mean, nothing happened, right? No one's upset about anything, and everything's great.
We had a weekend with nothing going on and no announcements. We'll just tear through this news.
I do think that it's very fitting that we decided, all right, we'll just do the show next week, and we actually have a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
So, as you might know, the grand finals for the 2020 partial season happened yesterday and this weekend. The grand finals were the top 16 players from the Players Tour Finals and the top 16 players from the Invitational. I was wondering why there were two lists of 16 people. We'll get to why this is confusing shortly, but this is what we got. We have the standard metagame breakdown here, showing us that the Omnath Adventures and Omnath Ramp decks were, what's 19 plus 4? 23 out of 32.
Yeah.
Not a small number.
Is that a lot?
That sounds pretty significant. That's some Sea Drino levels of nonsense.
There were 4 Rakdos mid-range decks, 3 Gruul Adventures, 1 Dimir Rogues, and 1 Temur Adventures deck out of this 32-person event. Now, this is not the best indicator for health of a metagame. Let's just be clear on that, because it's a very small field where a lot of people know each other and test together and whatnot. So
if you show up at a tournament and these 31 other people are there, you're probably not winning, so don't worry about it. It's not likely your metagame.
Exactly. So yeah, that was standard. Now there's a whole lot of nonsense here. Scroll. The historic metagame was much better. There were 11 Omnath Ramp decks, 7 Jund to Sacrifice decks, 6 4-color mid-range decks, not 64 colors, that's an old monitor, 6 4-color, 3 Neostorm decks, 2 Azorius Control, 1 each of Rakdos Arcanist? Whatever, Mono Red Goblins, and
like
Band
that.
Control. So yeah, the historic metagame is in a much better spot, although Omnath is still on top. But at least he's not 23 of 32.
There you go.
He's just 11 of 32.
Hey, that's not even half. It's fine.
Yeah, it's not even half.
Yeah, instead of being like 70%, it's only like 35. It's fine.
It's fine, yeah. So we would talk about these decks, but they don't exist anymore, and the meta they existed in don't matter. So let's just
Chewie,
go.
I need to learn these deck lists.
No, you don't. Let's just go to the top 8. So I would say this is a really stacked top 8, but no kidding, it's the grand finals.
That's how we do.
And oh look, Austin Bursavich won the whole thing. You guys recognize his name? He's the guy who got banned indefinitely for not snitching. You remember?
Yeah, that was awkward.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's why that name sounds familiar.
Okay, yeah, because I knew that he had gotten banned, but I couldn't remember why.
Yeah, he's the guy who got banned for not snitching on the insider news that the MPL was given, but the rest of the competitors weren't.
Sure, yeah.
And then other people sort of told their friends, and Austin went, screw this, I'm telling everybody this isn't fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, that. We talked about it at length back in the day.
We did.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you look at his finishes lately... Wait, hang on, I seem to have something in my eye. Besides my finger before anybody
It's a little
gets the
early
smart
in the
ass.
show for that.
It is.
Yeah, his finger goes in his eye later.
That's right. Stay tuned.
I hate you both.
I hate us too.
Hang on, let's check his bio and see if there's Autumn Burchett. What? That's not who I clicked on.
Is it possible that all the
here we go.
bios are on this page?
Yeah, it's just
There you go.
the little location thing didn't work for some reason. It just took me to the top of the page. And this is not a bio. It's a couple of small paragraphs. And then, yeah, okay, thanks. Stupid.
It's what you wanted.
Anyway. But if you look at his... Hang on, was it in this... Oh, yeah, here we go. So here's RLX chiming in with Austin over the last 6 premier level events. PT Oko, top 8. The RPT Pioneer, top 8. RPT Online... Well, he bricked it because he was banned until 2 days before and didn't know he was playing it. Yeah, they let him play 2 days ahead of time. PT Finals, top 16. Mythic Invitational, not invited. Grand Finals, first! So that's that. Does jabbing your finger in an eye fall under rule number 2? No, but jabbing your finger in someone else's eye does. Also,
That's
thank
true.
you for the bits, St. Saigal.
Personal space, 6 feet.
Yeah. So, yeah, Austin has been just tearing it up this year. And he got the win here. This is ridiculous. He beat Aaron Gertler. Gertler? I'm going to guess this is a person from the...
Look, we have to get all the names wrong. That's still a rule.
That is true. Yeah, I'm guessing this is a person from the PT Finals half. Just because he doesn't have a picture. The rest of the top 8 was just... Listen to this. Gabriel Nassif, Raph Levy, Autumn Burchett, Patrick Fernandez, who I apologize, I don't recognize that name. Seth Manfield, Emma Handy. That was the top 8.
Yep.
Jesus. And yeah, Austin tore it up. Let's see, here's the top 8. Austin Gertler, who are you? No? Why does this website suck?
Well, you see, Chewie, we had a conversation about this last week.
All right. We did, didn't we?
Yeah.
Okay, Patrick Fernandez is the latest breakout player from Brazil. Nice. Oh yeah, he's from the Players Tour Finals. Okay. Scroll. Aaron Gertler won the DreamHack Open Anaheim event. Oh. Cool. Emma Handy. Yeah. We know Emma. Raph Levy. Yeah. Seth. Yeah. Nassif. Yeah. Okay. So there we go. That covers the names I didn't know. Apologies. But Magic has made it impossible to actually keep track of any of this with any sort of regularity these days. So,
Correct.
Unless you're knee deep in it, which we are not.
Also correct.
Also correct. But yeah. So Austin won. Now let's go back to Ari's tweet. Austin's current status has an invite to the Zendikar split. And remember, split is fancy name for something that comes from esports. I don't actually remember. And a pat on the back. So he just won the grand finals. But he doesn't get into the Magic Pro League or even the Rivals League because of it.
No.
Because and not only that, but look at this. This is what he's been doing for the last however long. He's been killing it, but that doesn't get him anything apparently.
Correct.
And the chat just goes, because what is organized play even? Well, it's funny you should ask that. Here's a Cardboard Crack that came out just a few days ago.
Yes.
Okay. Cluze.
Yes.
I want you to be the guy on the right.
Okay.
Bill, I want you to be the guy on the left because we have to do the audio podcast thing.
Oh, you're right. Hold on, let me. Where'd it go? I had it.
He had it. It was right there. Now it's gone. Poof.
Feels like it. There it is. Cool. Okay. It's on the guy on the left?
You're the guy on the left.
All right. Are you excited for the grand finals this weekend?
Is that like the Pro Tour?
No, the Pro Tour became the Players Tour.
I thought it became the Mythic Championship.
That was split into the Mythic Invitational and the Players Tour.
It wasn't the Rivals League?
Rivals League is different.
Then when is the World Championship?
The grand finals is like the World Championship.
Isn't that this weekend?
Yes.
Awkward pause.
So how do you qualify for all these things?
Please make it stop. No.
So, like most cardboard cracks, this isn't funny, but it is relatable.
It is an efficient way of explaining a situation.
Yeah. So, yeah, OP is such a giant mess that, like, top 8ing or top 16ing the last whatever things in a while, and then winning the grand finals gets you a good job, buddy.
Yeah, I literally have no idea how any of these things work anymore.
I think you have to get a lot of Twitch followers.
I mean, for one of them, yes. But like, it's such a giant mess.
So it's a big journey away from go to PTQ, win PTQ, go to Pro Tour, win Pro Tour.
I do have a somewhat it's only somewhat a somewhat serious question about this event. Did either of you watch any of the coverage? I mean, I know the answer is no, but I thought I would ask anyway.
No. I'm pretty sure I accidentally watched a few minutes of Overwatch instead.
Okay, fair. I just happened to be on Twitter when they announced that like a match was starting or match was about to end, something like that. And so I flipped over to the Twitch stream and I caught Emma Handy's winning in for top 8. And I don't know if you've ever watched Emma Handy play on any of these tournaments on stream, but she's got a pair of headphones on and she's listening to music and she's just jamming away with it, just totally in the zone the whole time, like mouthing along to lyrics and doing things for the drums. And it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. I want to be like that when I grow up is what I want to say. And then she won and it was really neat.
It's important to have a soundtrack.
I could feel the emotion. It was great.
Nice.
And I think it was Marshall who said that he had total respect for it because there's no way he could listen to music while playing Magic, that he just couldn't concentrate. But for Emma, that's how she gets in the zone.
I'll say Marshall's also commentating, not playing, just leaving that there for anybody to
look,
talk about.
You didn't have to, but that's cool.
Chat pointed out that it's a mess because they aren't planning for the future because COVID means WotC doesn't know what OP looks like. And that's only partially true. OP has been a mess since way before COVID hit.
Yeah.
That's like, just why it's still unknown, but that's not why it's a mess.
So listen, we've said before that there are lots of folks. We're certain there are lots of folks who work at WotC who love this game, who care about this game. But the way OP has been going lately, it really kind of feels like, did any of you play the first edition Dungeons and Dragons?
No.
You're missing out. In the first edition Dungeons and Dragons, in the back of the DMG, there's like a table for everything. Like if you wanted to completely randomly generate like an encounter or a dungeon or anything, there are just tables for that. You can just roll randomly and you can say, okay, the room you're in is 20 by 40 and there's a ooze in the middle of the room and it's ochre in color. I mean, it's literally just a table for everything. And the the OP lately has felt like about once every 3 months, someone just hit a big button somewhere at WotC, and some intern had to go pull out the first edition DMG and some polyhedrals and just roll and go, okay, this is the new OP plan.
I like to think that they just cut open an animal and read the entrails, but that works too.
That's possible too.
I mean, depending on if you believe in the chick tract.
I mean, it's possible that they had a vision long term for how all this was going to go, and that we've just been seeing bits and pieces and bits and bobs as we went along the way. But it's really felt so random.
Like, there could absolutely be a plan behind everything, but it's not an easy to grok plan. And the number of charts and complicated things trying to explain it to us have not really helped that much. I'm sure for the people that are really, really super invested, they can navigate that by just focusing on the one part of it that they can do. But for most of us just sort of watching on the outside, it really does look like a giant pile of nonsense with non-intuitive words and arrows.
And for anybody who's new to all this, like who came to Magic recently and doesn't remember, and I know this term gets overused, but doesn't remember the before times, there was a time when how organized play worked was pretty straightforward and pretty understandable. And that time has not been recently.
They could fit it on a card, and they printed it on the back of some cards.
They did.
But yeah, so that's the place that we're at now. It's complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, even the pros who were in the MPL were, at least before the COVID times, were complaining that there was no clear roadmap to anybody, and that it was going to kill interest in OP if there's no way to get in it. And they're right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, again, we're not going to talk about any of these decks or anything because they literally don't matter anymore.
They don't matter. Yeah.
Yeah, because today, I guess we're good to move on, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Because today we got a BNR update, which they tweeted, yesterday? And everyone was like, well, duh.
For those keeping score, they no longer do scheduled BNRs, right? It's just they do them when they need them. I mean, for a while it was scheduled, and then every now and then there was like, oh, holy crap, a BNR just came out because it was an emergency BNR. But then they decided, no, we're not going to do that. We'll just have them when we need them. And then they would announce that there was going to be one, but they'd announce it like a week ahead of time. Like, not what it was, just that there's going to be one.
Yeah, just be aware.
And now it's just at any given moment, on any given day, you might suddenly get something on social media, because that's some random social media channel, whatever's, maybe a TikTok, I don't know, that there's going to be a BNR like Monday, and it's going to affect these formats.
Yeah.
So
I think they made the tweet yesterday. I'm pretty sure.
Our most recent BNR was 2 weeks ago.
That sounds right.
Yes.
And that was when Ono Euro, like the currency was banned.
Yeah, they banned it because of Brexit.
Okay, because of Brexit, they banned the euro, and
yeah, it was WotC leaving the European Union, so they just called WotC.
Yeah.
Oh boy,
Euro? I don't know how you say it.
Yeah, and then today. So today, the announcement.
Yes. So, they did. So last week, I'm just going to rehash this real quick. So Uro has been a problem in Standard for a long time now. But then Omnath came out, and suddenly Uro was not the problem anymore. In fact, it was massively outclassed. But they only banned Uro. For some reason. And some of us, myself included, were thinking, and I said this on the show last week, this one especially feels like they don't want to ban the big popular mythic from the new set. And I know lots of people have said that, for lots of bans throughout the history of recent bannings, and I have to call those people dumb. But this one really felt like because Omnath was clearly a problem. The problem.
Again, 70% of the decks.
Yeah. But they only banned Uro, and they were like, we'll keep an eye on it, which means we'll ban it after the grand finals. So, yeah, Standard, they banned Omnath, Locus of Creation, which they should have done a couple weeks ago, Lucky Clover, and Escape to the Wilds. So let's go read about that.
They're all bonkers cards.
Now, after this BNR update hit, there was some complaints about these explanations, which I'll get into shortly, but both of the two most popular decks in the freaking set, or the freaking Standard right now, are Omnath decks. And they have, Four Color Adventures has the highest overall win rate and has a favorable matchup against 9 out of 10 of the other top decks that don't play Omnath.
That's horrible.
Like, what? And so, yeah, with 23 out of 32 Omnath, that's obviously a problem. But they also had all of their other data that we don't have access to go by.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, they banned Omnath. But then they were thinking ahead. They said, without Omnath, adventure decks will just run everything over. So they got rid of Lucky Clover, which is that whenever you cast an adventure instant or sorcery spell, copy it. You remember that? Yeah.
Yeah.
So they got rid of that.
That's good. That was correct.
Yeah. And then, just to keep ramp decks from running rampant, they're also banning Escape to the Wilds. Which, as someone who doesn't pay attention to the meta, this one made me go, wait, what?
Well, okay, so Emma was playing a ramp deck, and so I saw Escape to the Wilds in action. And when you've got landfall triggers and you've got multiple Lotus Cobras out, you could escape to the wilds multiple times in a single turn and then just get into Genesis Ultimatum or Ugin. It was crazy. Like, just bonkers.
Was it Crazy Go Nuts?
Sure. I don't get this reference.
It's an old Homestar Runner thing.
Ah, okay. Fair. But yeah, I think that Escape to the Wilds would probably be okay if we didn't have Landfall and Lotus Cobra.
That makes sense.
I mean,
what they say here is this card plays a unique and powerful role as a bridge between strong ramp enablers like Lotus Cobra and powerful payoffs like Genesis Ultimatum and the Ugin.
Yeah.
And it says, of non-land cards in the Grand Finals, Escape to the Wilds was played in the second greatest number of copies. So, buh.
Man, that is a really pretty the Ugin that they've got on the card pop-up.
Yeah, that's the borderless treatment thing from the core set? Yeah.
That's pretty gorgeous.
So, yeah, they did look at the current metagame, banned Omnath, but then they looked at what would happen after that and got rid of the Lucky Clover and Escape to the Wilds just to keep the Adventures decks and the ramp decks from just continuing to run rampant. So that's good.
It does seem like a shocking amount of forethought, though.
Well,
I think
I'm sure it wasn't enough.
They need to ban Omnath for a bit now and have had time to think about it.
Yeah.
I mean,
go ahead.
I also don't blame them for not being like, oh, we have to ban Omnath right now, like right before their big crazy tournament, because we would have absolutely ripped them a new one for doing that too.
Yeah. So that was Standard. Historic, they banned Omnath for similar reasons, because while it's not completely destroying it. Historic as it is in Standard, it is still getting better and better and better.
Still pretty damn good.
Yeah, and so they're just suspending it for, hey, this will probably help. Let's do that. Excuse me. They're also, remember, there are 3 other cards currently suspended, so they're going ahead and banning Teferi Time Reveler.
Good.
And Wilderness Reclamation.
Yeah, that's fine.
Also good.
Yeah.
What was that? St. Saigal through 90 bits and says, but still #ban island just for clues.
Please. Please.
Yeah. So yeah, they banned those 2. So remember, Omnath is suspended. Teferi and Wilderness Reclamation were already suspended. They're banned now. But then they had suspended Burning Tree Emissary. And I remember that's the one where people were like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And then other people were like, holy crap, thank you. But it was very strange. But it says, since that suspension, the power level of Historic has increased considerably with the release of Jumpstart and Amonkhet Remastered. And we've seen the meta share of Gruul aggro fall off notably. So they've decided to unsuspend Burning Tree Emissary to see if that doesn't suck.
That's fair.
So yeah, that seems fine.
I mean, I think the point of having a suspend list is the ability to put someone in timeout and then take them out and see what happens and put them right back if they're still bad. So that makes sense.
Sorry, random sounds coming from upstairs. I don't know what that is. A few days ago,
DDR.
My upstairs neighbors decided that they needed to vacuum something at 2 a.m.
with a lawnmower.
Like, I was sitting in the living room going, I should go to bed. And all of a sudden, I hear, and I'm like directly above me, and I'm going, what? What could possibly need to be vacuumed at this time of night? Like, do you vacuum like when the baby barfs? Is that a thing you do? I don't have babies or barf, so.
Yeah, so the question was asked in the chat here by Last Halloween. What is the difference between suspend and ban? So you can think of suspending as like a soft ban. We're putting it in timeout, but we're not getting rid of it entirely because that means we don't have to give you any credit for any of those cards that you crafted.
Yeah. There you go. But if you ignore the wild card thing, suspend means this is a temporary ban. And ban means this is a ban. Ban!
Also, Chewie, I have a theory about your upstairs neighbor.
Okay.
I think they dropped a glass. And it broke. And the only thing you can do there is you got to vacuum that up. Because you pick up the big pieces.
I would have heard that, though.
But to get rid of the little pieces, you gotta vacuum that.
Wouldn't I have heard that? I might not have heard that.
I don't know.
But anyway, all right. So back to the thing. Also in Brawl, they're getting rid of Omnath because Omnath is by far the most played commander in Brawl, and currently has the highest win rate.
Those are both reasons.
Yeah, no matter how you slice it, dumb card is dumb.
Yeah. So Omnath has been banned in Brawl, but he's legal in historic Brawl events.
Comedy.
But they'll use their commander weighting system, so he will be more frequently paired against other similarly powerful commanders.
Like Omnath.
Yeah, and probably Omnath.
Yeah, it seems like an Omnath meta.
Yeah.
You can play any Omnath you want.
Probably don't play the
Actually,
other
no, because there's several Omnaths, so...
Okay, you can play not this Omnath.
I don't know how many of them are actually in historic, because that format's not real, so...
Fair.
Hey,
fair.
Now, it's real to some people.
I mean, it's real on Arena.
Yeah.
So that sort of counts.
Yeah.
But
there you go. There's your bans.
There's your bans. Now, you remember way back in the day, this was floating around Twitter, people were dropping links to the original Jace banning and the Stoneforge Mystic banning.
Right. The first banning we'd had since like Ravnica.
Since like ever, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember? You probably don't, but I opened it up earlier today. I forgot to put it in the show notes though, and I'm not gonna go dig it up. But they had an explanation for how this happened. They're like, how did these cards get out of development? And they were like, well, about that, and there was a big long section.
Right, yeah.
Well, you'll notice that with this, it's all just win rate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And percentage of metagame. There's no like, hey,
yeah,
we screwed up, sorry.
Usually the old excuse would be, and then we changed something partway through, and it was too good, but it was too late.
Now, they said that about Oko, but I don't remember if that was in a ban announcement or if that was in something else.
I remember hearing the story
like
about
it was
Oko.
in something else. I feel like it was a Rosewater article or a Tumblr. Apparently, it was in a daily video.
I remember it happened. Like, I know that we actually did find out more about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was
and
the
that,
thing where they were so focused on tweaking the individual bits that they forgot to look at the card as a whole, and these tweaks were happening late, and it just sort of got through.
And that can certainly happen sometimes, right? I mean, I don't begrudge them that this sort of thing can happen from time to time, that a change is made late in development after the card's been tested. It was a tweak to do something, and that tweak turned out to have far greater ramifications than they originally thought. Sure, it happens, right? It happened in 2011 with Jace and Stoneforge. It happened with Oko.
So I just saw it brought up in chat. People are talking about fire. And I've seen a lot of people complaining about fire lately. Capital FIRE, like an acronym. And it's their new like design philosophy or play design philosophy. Fun, inviting, replayable, and exciting. And it's their thing where they're consciously pushing formats to be, or cards to be more powerful and more exciting, and yeah, we'll have to ban stuff more.
It's conscious hype.
It is conscious hype, yeah.
And this was a thing that we talked about before, I think maybe around the time that this was happening, that you kind of have two choices, because arriving on the razor's edge of making things interesting but not broken is really hard, right? You can be conservative and you can have a boring metagame, you can have a boring world, or you can have things super exciting. They've decided to err slightly more on the exciting side, thus fire.
Yeah.
But the ramifications of that is, yeah, we're going to have to ban stuff.
Yeah. So Kibler tweeted earlier today, if my math is right, there have been more cards banned in the past 12 months than in the past 14 years combined. And Frank Karsten, our resident math guy, says the math checks out. Out of all cards banned in Standard over the past 15 years, 56% were banned in the past 12 months.
Yeah.
Now, we've talked about this several times in the past, that this can be a deliberate choice that you make. You push things, and if things are too bad, you just ban them. But,
However,
go for it, Cluze.
yeah. So at this point, and I'm, since we're quoting statistics here, why not? 29 unique cards have been banned that were printed in 2019 or 2020. There's pushing things, and then there's pushing things, right? It's like, it's one thing when the car is going a little fast, right? You're like, oh man, car's going a little fast. It's another thing when the car is going so fast that the tires are melting and there's like fire shooting out the sides. I feel like we're in the fire shooting out the sides part.
Ghost Rider.
Yeah. I feel like we've gone all Ghost Rider, and not like the comic, like the Nicolas Cage movie.
The second one, which was terrible.
Ooh, that's rough.
Yeah.
Yeah. The first one was cute. Second one was terrible, and it feels like we're in the middle of the second one as far as standard goes.
That's unfortunate.
I mean, it used to be that standard was okay. Standard was stable. I mean, it was stable in a. I kind of want to say it was a predictable merry-go-round is what it was, right? Because that's what standard was. It was a merry-go-round. You bought into standard, you built your deck. Your deck was your pet deck, and it was great, and it was amazing. And then another set came out, and it might displace that deck. But then again, at the end of the day, within like a year and a half, pieces of your deck were going to rotate, and you're going to have to buy a new deck. And so it was this constant churn, this constant merry-go-round. But it was at least predictable. Now, it's so unpredictable with all the bannings that have had to happen in standard. I
mean,
I could not
in the time that leads up to a banning, it approaches extremely predictable.
True, but I mean, I could not in good conscience suggest anyone build a standard deck right now. I just can't. Because something is going to come along that's so broken that your deck is useless, or something's going to come along that breaks something in your deck and pieces will get banned. And it just seems crazy. I could not imagine wanting to get involved in standard right now. But I mean, I was a legacy player. I liked my decks to barely change over time. So maybe I'm not the best person to ask about this, but it makes your head spin.
I mean, back when I actually did play on the regular basis, I had several standard decks. And the idea was that, you actually played a metagame where you got an idea of what people at your store were playing or what was popular based on the last tournament or whatever. And then you played the deck that could beat it, and then ideally beat more of the rest of the field. Like, there was an element to that. But of late, it's become pretty clear that they're just our best decks. And we're getting them pretty quickly, and bannings occur to shake that up again. I'm not going to retread it too hard, but I am of the mindset that it was just consciously decided that bannings are not actually bad, because they mean that a stagnant format is no longer stagnant. It's not like we sit here on the same decks for 3 months anymore.
That's true.
Like, if you're willing to push things, let people get really excited for playing with the really big, powerful stuff, ban a thing, and then it's shifting again. Okay, well, you can do that now. We're not like slowly discovering the new decks because we're just finding the new ones really quickly. We've got plenty of online resources, plenty of tournaments, plenty of ways to like tune stuff. And as noted, they're making conscious efforts to clearly push some cards. And once some cards are pushed, you need to be able to answer those cards or play them. And that will narrow it down no matter how big the card pool is.
Yep.
I've seen this comment elsewhere, but EDH Panda brings it up in the chat. By the way, hello, EDH Panda. One of the problems is that since the block format has gone away, basically every set is a big new set with new mechanics. And so you're getting like... I don't know. I feel like the power level is just you don't have room to like breathe or develop your mechanics. You've just got, oh, here's a new thing. It might break everything. Let's do it. I don't know.
Although, like, to be fair, back in the days of blocks, usually there was one mechanic, maybe two, that went through all three sets of a block, but every other mechanic in the smaller sets were also new.
Yeah.
But they weren't like big and awesome in the central focus because they were smaller sets.
Usually the smaller sets would play off of the things introduced in the bigger set, and the question would always be, I've made my big set deck. What am I gaining from the next small set, and what in the next small set is making my deck worse? And that was kind of how things evolved. Because, like, if you remember back in, let's say, Lorwyn, just to pick a block, we had tribal decks at the beginning. So Lorwyn comes out, here's the tribal mechanics, here's your roughly 5 archetypes of the 8 tribes. And then you got to Morningtide, which was still tribal, but it was on like professions instead. But it was like they were still releasing, merfolk. They were still releasing fairies. Oh God, did they release fairies? They were still releasing these things. And so you could still see a progression as the card availability changed and what was available to play with changed. But it still felt like something was happening. And then when they got to Shadowmoor and they're like, okay, we're doing colors instead. They still printed cards that played into the tribal mechanics, but it wasn't as big of a thing. And the colors that had been seeded in through the tribes stuck over into the way you played Shadowmoor, and then Eventide flipping the colors even more. And so by the end of that whole thing, there was definitely a progression where each 3 months felt like a new thing, but it was not like this, where if everything is a big set, then it's just a constant flow of mechanics that will inevitably interact in a way that probably wasn't as play tested and then explode.
I feel like the old block format was a little bit more like you had a movie with a well-rounded supporting cast. Like there were lots of good, solid supporting cast actors. And once we got rid of that and we're just, the single like big sets all the damn time, it's like every set is just full of movie stars, right? The like big budget, high power. There's no diversity, right? It's like the one or two big name cards are your
so it's like the voice cast for every DreamWorks CG movie. They're not voice actors. They're just big fancy Hollywood actors who show up and sort of halfway deliver their lines.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty good analogy.
Yeah. So St. Saigal threw 100 bits earlier and said they did acknowledge the lack of consistency across blocks, and that's what the what is the M and MDFC stand for? The modal double face cards are going to be in sets, for the next year. But that's still just adding like this tiny little through line of, oh, okay, yeah, to the big new set. And I'm sure that eventually we're going to get more than just spells on one side, lands on the other. I'm sure of it. So, it will get more and more complicated as we go. But it sounds like it might do like the old block system, and we get the basic one first, then we iterate on it in a later one, and then we get more complicated in a later one.
Yeah.
So I have seen people say, and I'm not going to quote this just because I don't want anybody to think that I'm attacking the person who said this. I've seen this from more people, but I've seen this saying that perhaps banning cards in Standard isn't bad, because there were tons of cards in past Standards that weren't banned but probably should have been, and players had to suffer through it then, and now they think that a lot of bannings are bad. And like that's accurate. I agree that banning things that are bad is better than not banning things that are bad. But the difference is back then things were just sort of obnoxious bad. Like, you guys remember that long stretch of time where we had Flash, and then
thank you,
vehicles, we had the different sounds for each deck because we got sick of saying the name of each deck for so long.
It's true.
And like we had the different flavors, the tiny tweaks of Abzan for months and months and months. But it's not just that, the metas needed to be shaken up back then. It's that now they're like oppressively bad and they have to ban stuff.
Yeah, and also a thing to note about, like, we make fun of Abzan. In the event that they had banned, say, Siege Rhino, Abzan would have been the same.
Ow.
Like, there would still be a bunch of them. They were still going to be the best cards that they could get in their decks. They'd still be splashing whatever color they wanted. none of the individual cards during those time periods was so powerful that it could hit a 90% win rate. That just wasn't a thing. Like, we had a lot of standouts and we had a lot of things that fell behind, but we just didn't get as many Grand Slams like that. And like, when on the few occasions where we got things that were so busted that happened, they did ban stuff. Like, Mind Sculptor Jace was too good.
Yeah. And like when we saw the BNR update earlier, and Bill saw has favorable matchups against 9 out of the 10 other decks that don't run Omnath, Bill was like, have we ever had anything like that before? And I went, I don't know, maybe Oko?
Like, all the things that I could think of are banned.
Exactly.
Like, I didn't play during Mirrodin Affinity, but all the stories I was told of Mirrodin Affinity were you're playing it or you lose. And it was like, I never really experienced that as a player, that anything was that oppressive. Like, I've played during fairies, I played during, busted Titan decks and whatnot, but during most of those time periods, that was the best deck. There was the good against the best deck and good against other things decks, and then there were several other ones circling around, and you still had choices to make.
Yeah. And there's one person in the chat who seems to think that because there's so much arena being played, that's a factor, but they still printed Omnath. Like, this has nothing to do with the amount of Magic being played. That just means it got discovered a little faster, that it was by far the best deck. And we got a way more data showing that it was by far the best deck. But they still printed the damn card. And, like, when we read it on the mana pool, we were like, what the hell is this? Like...
It did one of those things where if you look at a card that has the ability to draw a card when it comes in, and you're like, okay, if we ignore that, would you still play this card? If the answer is yes, it's probably broken.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably broken. If they were able to tack on draw a card, and the card is still worth the cost without the best words in Magic on it. Like, I do think that, the availability of tracking information makes it easier to determine when a card is a problem, but it doesn't factor into whether or not it gets printed. Because we had Magic Online for a long time, and we had so much data in Magic Online before Arena, and I'm sure we still do. But Magic Online was pumping out tournaments as soon as you could get 7 people together for years, and they were happening.
And all of that data got shared with us.
Yeah, they used to post it on the website. They'd be like, here are all of the tournaments yesterday, decks that went 4-0 and 3-1. And they just posted them to us with numbers, and you could practically download the spreadsheet. And they don't do that as much anymore. But
oh god,
because of that reason. But like, it was very clear.
You okay, Cluze?
Yeah, no. I was just reading a comment in the chat, which was remember that they expected us to still have Oko, Veil of Summer, Once Upon a Time, and more with this standard.
Unless
That's
they
true.
didn't, and they were planning on banning some of this crap. But I don't think they're, at least not with Throne, I don't think they were that inept or evil.
But still, man.
I think they print cards knowing there's a chance they'll have to ban them. I don't think that, like, I've ranted about this several times. I don't actually think they're like, okay, we're going to release this, and then like a month in, we're going to ban it. I don't think that's the plan. I think it's more, we're going to risk that this thing runs away and makes things hype. And then if it has to be banned, so be it. But that does mean that any testing that you do more than 3 months out, especially if you're like on the team whose job it is to address format problems, is irrelevant. They're not playing the standard that we will ever see because different cards will be affected. They don't go like, hey, we think this card's really busted in, June. It'll probably get banned, so let's just ignore it for the rest of our testing. Like, they can't do that or the card would be fixed. Like, that's not a thing they can do. So I do think that there's a lot of data to be had. I think that things get out of hand, but I do think that for all the reasons that we say when like we make allusions to the fire situation, like cards are more likely to get strong enough that they're banned. And then because of that, there's more uncertainty as to what the format's going to be, which means there's a greater chance of that cascading, to use a Magic term, into further bans. Like, they're now cutting away at different parts of the cheese. And who knows what it's going to look like when we're done.
Excuse me. Also, we are just speaking in generalities as outside observers.
Yeah.
Because none of us play Standard or have any interest in playing Standard.
That is definitely true.
And haven't since even before this was a thing.
We have not been under the boot of Standard and pulled in all of our negative experiences from someone stomping us with cards. We've just been observing what's happening and hearing what people are saying and then projecting what experience we do have from playing Magic and paying attention to Magic for 10 plus years on it.
Yeah. Way plus in my case.
Yeah.
Jeez. You guys know that next month the mana pool turns 13?
Oh, it's going to start rebelling.
Oh, God, it's going to be a teenager. Oh,
Yeah.
You're going to
Not
have
looking forward to that.
teenage group.
Oh, well. Have we beaten this horse to death yet, you think?
I think we have.
I think we've sufficiently addressed it.
All right.
If you want to hear more about this, listen to any episode we've done after a banning.
Right.
Or any show that anybody does about anything Standard related.
Yeah, we are not unique opinions on this, and we know that.
Yeah.
We're probably yelling less than some people. We're not using all caps, but we have largely the same feelings as most people.
We do, as always, try to be the voice of reason whenever possible.
When it's possible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not.
So, we do have several more bits of news before we have the talk, as Al put it in the chat. So, all right. We missed this a while. I think. I don't remember seeing this link because this is from September.
Huh.
But I know we talked about Kaladesh Remastered at some point.
Yeah, it was on the list.
I don't remember if we actually talked about it on the show. So, hey, Kaladesh Remastered is coming to Arena. It's going to be just like Amonkhet Remastered. It's like the greatest hits of Kaladesh. That's like for limited play and to get some cards into Historic. And it's going to be released sometime before the end of 2020, apparently.
I mean, it is additional products.
It was in an Arena State of the Game we skipped. Oh, well, since we don't talk about the Arena State of the Games, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it does.
to my knowledge, we still don't have a date on this. They decided they should actually make Pioneer Masters a limited set, so it got delayed. Huh! Oh, they put Kaladesh Remastered in its place. Got it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, to my knowledge, we still don't have a date on this. But there you go. It's sometime before the end of this year. Maybe, unless that's changed.
In the future.
Yeah. Also, a thing that we missed last week somehow, the Commander Legends global release has been pushed back to November 20th. I don't know when it was supposed to launch, but now it's November 20th. So this is Draft Boosters, Collector Boosters, and Commander decks. Pre-releases occur starting November 13th, and the previews start October 26th, because never-ending preview season is real, and it hates you.
And never ending.
It's true.
So yeah, this is the like Commander draft set thing. Remember? Yeah. I didn't care either. But hey, there you go. Some Commander players will, because heaven forbid they don't print more just generically good commanders that people will want to have.
Yep.
Yeah. So
I remember
there you
how
go.
exciting it was when the first pre-con commander decks came out.
I still have those.
That was
do
really neat when that happened. Little did I know that here, a scant few years later, I'd be going, I think there might be too much commander product coming slightly too fast.
The first one was super hype. The second one was like, oh, look, there's the good one that's going to shape Legacy.
Yeah, I still have a couple of those unopened.
God, that was the second one, wasn't it?
Yeah, they got there in 2.
All right, next up. Well, first we have a news link. This is more Magic merch for adult people.
What?
Yeah.
From the makers of shoes.
No. A group called, or a site or something called Super Groupies
Oh yeah.
is releasing new, like, high-end accessories. We've got watches, which come with a Planeswalker symbol in the 5 colors of Magic, or a nice generic, like, mythic black and orange one.
Yeah.
From the makers of shoes.
And we've also got some really nice bags. Also in the 5... Well, black with the highlights of the 5 colors. Or, I guess, artifact silver is what that's supposed to be? Yeah, that's what it looks
White,
like.
blue, black, red, green is what I'm seeing up there. But yeah, you're right. It's weird. Planeswalkers. Mana.
But Super Groupies apparently has been doing accessories based on a lot of other stuff, like Fire Emblem 3 Houses, Death Note, Bloodborne.
Stuff's
and the
really
Nier
expensive.
series.
Hey, how'd you get that link in English? Because I can't get that site to come up in English.
What, the Silicon Era? Because I went to there first.
I know, Super Groupies.
That's in Japanese.
Yeah, that I got to come up in English by going up here and telling Chrome to make it English.
Oh, okay.
This stuff's pricey though.
Yeah. The watches are... Hang on, scrolling.
$240.
Yeah. 23,800 yen, which is... It's like 240?
Yeah, about.
Wow.
Yeah.
You can pretty much just treat it like pennies, give or take. You're in the neighborhood.
Ah, okay. Which means that the bags are... Scroll.
Like $140.
There we go, yeah. 13,800, so like $140 ish.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the bags are totally for Magic. Like, they've got lots of compartments and hidey holes for various things, and they're all very pretty.
Yep.
But if you're looking for, like, Magic's accessories for, like, adults instead of for, like, children, well, we've got really nice... What kind of bag is this? It's like a one... is this a messenger bag?
It's a sling bag.
Sling bag.
Yeah.
And then the fancy watches.
This definitely knows an audience.
Oh, yeah.
Because having been to conventions, I've seen nerds throw down ridiculous amounts of money on deck boxes and dice towers and dice in general.
I was gonna say, Cluze has some really fancy dice that he showed us once.
Yeah. Like there's a market for it.
I am a little bit confused about the market for the watches though. That's most nerds I know don't wear dumb watches.
Well,
right?
you see, watches
if they
these
wear
days...
a watch at all.
Yeah, see, these days you don't need a watch, so your watch is definitely just an excuse to get fancy accessory.
To bling, that's all.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like bracelet that happens to tell time, probably wrong because you probably didn't set it right.
Yeah, okay,
Probably,
fair.
yeah. But yeah, we've got, like I said, the black and orange Planeswalker model, and then one for each color.
Oh, yeah, it is about time. Thank you. Thank you so much, chat.
Wow. Do they ship to the U.S.? I don't know. Go to the website and look. Hang on, let's go to the news article. I bet it says.
I mean, it's not coming out till next year, so you have time to think about it.
Yeah, I thought the pop-up that came up at the beginning when you first went to that page actually told you that they shipped to the U.S. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
People living outside Japan are also able to place orders through the World Shopping Service inside Super Groupie's product page.
The better question is, and this is going to sound really harsh, and I apologize, but I can't resist. Can people in Brazil buy them?
I don't know. I'm not in Brazil.
Since they can't get, secret
Magic.
Yeah, and
I mean, people in Brazil might get them, but they'll get them like 2 months later.
Okay.
For twice the
and
price.
On a weekend when no one's expecting it, and it'll cost more.
It'll definitely cost more.
Because they have to buy 2, because one of them has to go to customs.
Right.
Oh.
And by the time they actually get to them, the watches will have rotated.
You'll no longer
No.
be able to use the blue one.
That really just means that it's 12 hours later because they are analog, but they will.
Oh, that's terrible. Like, it's
mean,
funny,
thank
but
you.
it's awful.
Thank you.
We're
I'll
gonna
be
ban the
here
green one.
for. I'll be here for at least the rest of this show.
It's true. So yeah, there's that. And then we have, I think finally. Hey, Eternal Weekend 2020 is going to be happening on Magic Online over the next 2 weekends. So
I like that announcement.
The 16th through the 18th, and the 23rd through the 25th. So you'll be
one of those weekends I think is going to be great since people are going to be playing the king of all formats on MTGO, and the week after that people will play Vintage. So that's neat.
Oh, is 1 week?
Yeah, so 1 week is Legacy, and that's the October 16th through 18th is Legacy, and then the following weekend is Vintage, I believe.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And in both cases, don't worry if you don't have all of the cards that you need to make the deck that you want to make. By buying the token to enter it, you get access to.
They're calling it a full account.
Yeah,
That's so cool.
That is actually freaking awesome.
That's actually really neat that you can do this.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some things that are definitely downsides to whole playing electronically, which, you know, it's we lose the gathering part of Magic, but there are other things that you can do that you just could never do in paper. You know, go to your friend who plays Vintage and just say, "Hey, is it okay if I borrow your power to go play in this tournament?" Just see what happens.
Let someone know you're going there first.
Yeah, you should probably tell a lot of people that you're going there first. And before you ask the question of your friend, tell them that people know where you are.
It's true. Also, maybe get microchipped.
I mean, Vintage is the only format, because I judged a couple of Eternal Weekends in person. Vintage is the only format where a guy I knew who was actually from my local game store, who I'd played with multiple times, I had to do a deck check on him one round, and he came with me. He would not let me. He would not let me just take his deck. He came with me for his deck check because he, of course, had lots of power.
The deck probably cost more than the car he used to get there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But hey, this is your chance if you ever want to play in that world without, you know, becoming an oil baron. You can play with the cards.
Yeah.
And you don't have to worry about shuffling them.
This is pretty cool.
So I think it's neat. I think it's exciting. If you wanted to get a chance to try out some of these formats with, I'm going to go with differently broken cards, since Standard apparently has plenty of broken ones too. Now's your chance.
Do you like games that go to turn 4? Boy, do we have nothing for you.
They go longer than that sometimes.
I guess they'd be both brick.
And based on which of the events you join, you'll get fancy cards.
Neat.
Exclusive new artwork versions of oversized cards, Maze of Ith, Library. Wait, oversized cards? What? How do you get oversized cards in Magic Online? What does that mean?
I don't know.
But the Friday Legacy event is a Caracas. Saturday is Rashad and Port. And Monday is Maze of Ith. And here's the art for those. That is quite awesome, actually. The Maze of Ith. Look at that. Wow.
You put them in your oversized binder.
You get actual oversized cards. Oh, you mean they're going to mail you physical oversized cards? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, yeah, if you place first.
Oh, that's just for winning.
Yes, yeah, it's in the prizes. Yeah, you get.
Oh, there it is. Okay, I scrolled past the prizes.
Neat.
Okay, so then the vintage ones. Saturday is Tolarian Academy. The other Saturday is Library of Alexandria, and Sunday is Mistress Workshop. Ooh, Pretty. Oh, check out the Mistress Workshop. Look, they're working. Hello, assembly worker. Hello. I'm sorry, I'm talking to the cards.
Assemble.
Also, for God's sake, read the eligibility to make sure you're eligible so you're not a 12-year-old that wins big and then doesn't get the prize.
Yeah, we don't want that story to happen.
Make sure that you can play in it from your location and
Yeah.
all that. Make sure you can actually win if you play.
Yeah. It's good advice for everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just because I was throwing shade before, no, Vengeance Legacy don't always end on turn 3. That's just a fun joke that I keep running with.
Yeah, we'll call it a fun joke. So,
I mean, I'm not playing it. I find it hilarious.
So that's our Magic news. Yep.
It's true.
So now I guess we have to have the talk, as it was put in the chat.
Yeah, I suppose.
Okay, so Jack went out for cigarettes a long time ago. And
just to be clear, Chewie and Squee and I still love you. It's just that we're going through a thing right now,
we all need cigarettes.
and we all need to go for cigarettes.
Lord. So, as we said last week, we are going to stop at 700 for now. And you're going to hear a lot of repeat from last week, and I apologize for that, but we need to go more in depth since this is the last episode. How do we start this?
Well, I think I'm going to start with the comment that we came up with when we were discussing this. So to be clear, this is something that's been in the works for a long time. This is not just a sudden knee jerk. This is not you know how some people will just rage quit. This is not that. Okay, we've been thinking about this for a while.
Yeah.
And something that we came up with in our discussions outside of the show, because we actually talk outside of the show. I don't know if you know that, but we're actually friends.
It's true.
A lot has changed in the time we've been doing this show. Chewie took over Monday Night Magic before me. I came on board in 2012, I think, or was it 2011? I don't know. I think it was 2012. I think it was episode 311 is when I came on board. So I've been at this for over 8 years. And the game that was Magic when we started recording this show is not the game that Magic is now. A lot has changed. The company that was WotC and the way it did things is not the same as when we began Monday Night Magic. The world that was is very different now than when we started recording Monday Night Magic. And we as people have changed a great deal in that time as well. We're not the same people we were when we started. So if you look at the statistics, and it's been a while since I've actually looked at these, but for a long time, the rule of thumb within WotC was the average Magic player plays for about 7 years. That from the time they start until they get, deep into it. And if you're listening to this show, if you're within the sound of my voice, you know the feeling I'm talking about, where the only thing you want to do is play Magic. You're reading about Magic, you're brewing decks in your head when you're trying to actually do work. You know the feeling, right?
Yep.
From then until, kind of drifting away and not playing anymore, or putting the decks away in the closet or selling off, whatever it is, it was about 7 years for the average player. And that's what Magic essentially counted on, right? They have always needed a new influx of players. The folks who play consistently for 20 years are the exception, not the rule of thumb, not the average. So we have been doing this show longer than the average Magic player has been playing Magic. And so a lot has changed and a lot is different now. Our lives have changed a lot. So if I can just
Did Cluze? 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 Hello? Cluze?
for those of you who
Oh,
haven't,
hang on. Cluze? Cluze? Cluze?
yeah, yeah.
I'm very sorry. I still have my Among Us settings, keybinds, and I accidentally deafened for part of what you just said.
Oh no.
Nice. Okay. All right. That's fine. That's totally cool.
So if you could start over like at the beginning of the previous thought.
I don't even remember where the previous thought was, but
Crap.
I'll just
7 years.
I will. Okay, really, at the beginning of 7 years was where this was, because
Yeah, it's been a really long episode.
my
Time is weird this year, and you know that.
my God. Okay, so did you catch the part where I said that the average Magic player plays for 7 years?
Oh yeah, we got that.
Okay,
And we've been playing for longer than that.
and that we've been recording for longer than that.
I mean,
Okay,
recording for longer
great.
than that, right?
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so here's the thing: when I started playing, when I started really getting involved in Magic, I was in kind of a weird place. The weird place was North Carolina, and that's the
Very
joke,
weird.
at least that I was trying to make. But then we had this issue that arose.
Sorry, I'm sorry. Among Us keybinds are the devil.
At the time, my wife and I were living in different states because of jobs. And so she was in Michigan, which is where I am now, but I was down in North Carolina. And I basically had work and nothing. I had no other hobbies at the time. I had nothing I was doing. And so I got involved in Magic. It's a little more complicated than that, but I got involved in Magic. And I found a really great local game store. At the time, it was called Sci-Fi Genre. It's now called Atomic Empire in Durham, North Carolina. It's a great shop. You should check it out. And I mean that sincerely. It is a great shop. You should check it out. And I just kind of went whole hog on Magic. Yeah, it was it. I lived and I breathed Magic, and I listened to as many podcasts as I could. I read the articles on the mothership all the time. And I mean, this was back at the time when you couldn't. The whole podcasting thing was kind of weird. I mean, I was downloading like episodes straight from the internet onto a flash drive that I stuck in my like music player to listen to things. But I would listen to Rich Hagon doing interviews at Magic events. I mean, it was absolutely great. I could not get enough of it.
Hey, Cluze.
Yeah.
Hold that thought. Silverfist just threw 5,000 bits. Holy crap.
Damn.
I said, we love y'all too. I got into the show from meeting Cluze at Atomic as me and my friends, Team Troll, drove up from Charlotte just to play at Atomic and see Cluze and the wonderful people there. And yes, Carolina be weird, but at least we aren't South Carolina.
That's right.
True.
At least it's not the lesser.
We will stand by that.
Yeah.
Hey, look, Team Troll.
Thank you, Silverfist.
Team Troll are the folks who introduced me to the Legacy deck Cheerios. Now, I'm pretty sure that one of the cards that powers the engine is banned now, but oh my God, that deck was amazing. Okay.
Some of you wondering about the value of 5,000 bits, that's like a third of a backpack.
I needed something to do, and Magic became my identity. It's literally what I did. I became a judge during New Phyrexia because I hated the set and didn't actually want to play, but I wanted to be involved in Magic still. I wanted to give back to the community in some way. So I became a judge, and that became the thing that I did, and I did it all the damn time because I had nothing else to do because my wife was like 4 states and 13 hours away. And so it kind of took over my life for a long time. But eventually...
Hold that thought again. Steve on the bus has to go. But Steve, we appreciate you being on the bus with us all these years.
We do so, and I'm so glad you were here. And for anybody who doesn't know the joke about Steve on the bus, you got to go back and listen to the back catalog because there's some great stuff there.
It'll take a while.
But yeah, that may be one of the longest running in jokes, frankly, that we had. Anyway, eventually that job, I kind of grew disenchanted with that job that I had down in North Carolina, and I started looking for stuff up here because I got tired of, living 4 states away from my wife for like nearly 8 years.
Right.
And so I moved back up here. And once I moved back up here, I really lost the social network that was that was Atomic Empire, that was my local gaming group that was there. And it was a really great community, and I miss all of them. I mean, not a week goes by that I don't lament the fact that I'm not with those people anymore. But I am with my wife, and that was important to me, right? That was the decision that I made, and I knew that I was walking away from that, and I knew it was going to change my relationship to Magic, but it was important, and I don't really regret it because I'm in a happier state now mentally, but I do miss them all, right? But because of that, I've slowly like drifted out of mainstream Magic, and I tried to keep up with it as much as I can, but then organized play just lit itself on fire and ran screaming through the world, and I can't keep up anymore. Okay, there's too many products coming out too fast. There's too many bannings. There's too many changes to how tournaments work. It's like drinking from a damn fire hose.
There's too much fragmentation. Oh God, did I say the word? I'm sorry.
There is too much fragmentation. That is absolutely correct. And I just can't keep up anymore. I just can't. And as much as I like my job here, I'm teaching at a different university up here in Michigan now. It's a lot more work than my old job was, and it eats up a lot more time than my old job did. And on my weekends, my wife and I can actually go do things together. We I don't just have just me sitting around my apartment with nothing to do. So it's not so much that I've outgrown Magic as a game. I still like Magic. I still like the core game concept, but organized Magic and Standard are not, they're not for me, right? At least it's not where I want to be right now, I guess is the way I would phrase it. And so we kept doing this show. We kept coming back week after week, but for a long time now, I have been preaching that the absolute best part about this show is when the three of us are talking before the show or after the show, and that's the odds and ends. And if you're a Patreon, you know what those are. If you're not, you should be a Patreon of Chewie, because he's got a lot of great content, including the odds and ends. But it was the part of the show that I looked forward to. And the part of the show that I didn't look forward to was the actual meat of the show, where we went over a bunch of deck lists about a bunch of cards that I didn't know, that did stuff, ? And then something got banned, and then it all just went to hell, and we did it again, right? So these guys have been the best part about this journey across the last 8 years, hanging out with these two. But the actual tournament results, look, I'm not gonna claim to speak for either of these two yahoos. I'm gonna let them get in a word edgewise.
He probably does, though, for this part.
I totally lost my train of thought, but it'll be back. Stand by.
Toot.
Oh, the train. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, no, I literally have no idea where I was going with that. I was going somewhere and then I lost it. I'm sorry. I will let one of them get in a word edgewise.
Haha. Then I will do that because it makes sense for me to go before Chewie. Otherwise, it's weird.
Is it?
Yeah, a little bit. So, like, when I got into Magic, it was...
Oh, wait a minute. Before you start, St. Saigal threw 1850 bits and said Magic is important. This game is so much about the gathering.
Yeah, that's very true. Like, I started playing Magic because my roommate in college bought a bunch of old cards from Mirrodin and needed someone to play with. So if you ever want to not learn how to play Magic properly, play only with cards from Mirrodin. You don't know what the colors do because they're irrelevant. And you don't see real removal outside of red. So that's special. It was an interesting way to learn. But the real social parts kicked in. Like, that was when I met Maniple Mike and a few other people, and we played every week, and it was fun. And then when Mike moved off for work stuff, and my roommate moved off for work stuff, and we didn't really have our regular meetups anymore, I sort of fell out of that. I started doing a little bit of tournament stuff. I think I hit the height of my tournament experience when I top 8'd for, because it was the Cons of Tarkir, I think so. So like that was a while ago now, but that was sort of the height of it.
You top forward.
Yeah, I came in third, and like that was like, wow, I put a lot of effort into getting to third, and then I didn't really ever want to do that again.
That was
also
a PTQ, since I don't think he said that.
Oh yeah, it was a limited PTQ. And like I'd 5-0'd the first part, so I got to go have dinner and take a break before the top 8, and that was nice. But it was one of those things where like I did a ton of stuff to prep for it. Like I literally had multiple booster boxes, and I kept all the cards in their pack orientations, and just kept making sealed pools out of like 72 packs, just picking them up at random and building sealed pools without actually separating them out. They're just in rows. And I was super heavy duty wanting to be good at this. And I found out about what it would take for me to be on top of things, and I kind of got tired of it. It wasn't really that fun for me, and I don't think it would have changed even if I'd actually gone to a Pro Tour. Although that was back when you could in one tournament, and that was kind of fun. But my best Magic memories are actually more like when we would go to Charlotte events and meet up with a bunch of other people from the community. When we did the podcaster dinner at the pizza place, that was great.
That was awesome.
Like that was really fun. That's probably my best Magic memory, was meeting up with like 40 of us and taking over a pizza place.
Yeah, we did. We just invaded. Was it Mellow Mushroom?
It was a Mellow Mushroom.
Yeah, we just invaded the Mellow Mushroom.
We stole all these tables, and we made this massive wall of table, and then we had to pee. And it was like, oh no, what have we done? And so it became this game of crawling under the table and trying not to bump into anyone. But it was fun. Like we had a great time. And I sort of learned that my favorite part of Magic tournaments was actually just walking around with Chewie when Chewie was doing 3 questions, and just getting to meet everyone via Chewie, which is nice because Chewie is way better at identifying people by their pictures than I am. Like, if I had a conversation with someone online, that's awesome. I'm not going to know what your face looks like, even if you had a profile picture. But Chewie will pick you out from across the room, and then he'll be like, oh, hey, let's go get them. And then you'll ask them 3 questions, and it's fun.
That's just because I'm cursed to remember faces forever.
It's true. It's weird. You have faces forever, but like you're good at it. And like you're good at getting people to open up and answer questions. And unlike some people, you actually know what tribal cards are. So that's really important. But yeah, actually, if you ever want fun flashback nostalgia, just go listen to the 3 questions. Oh, God. Like those are all still on manapool.com, right? Like I assume.
As far as I know, yeah.
Yeah, so go listen to those.
Too.
Like get a feeling for what Magic was kind of like socially from that. You get a wide variety of people, and they talk about what's on their minds, and it's fun, and it's super digestible. You can just pause at any real point and come back later. Those were great. Those were wonderful, and I enjoyed that. Like all the social parts I liked. I liked going to my game store and meeting people there, and not taking it too seriously. Like being, aware enough of what was going on from podcasting that I, looked over the sets and I played in pre-releases and all of that I could enjoy it, but not get too stressed out about it. And I liked all that. Like I like the stories that generate from a bunch of Magic people together. Like the Mana Pool has been really good for showing you what a group of people who stick together via Magic, are like, because they've got 1,000,001 in jokes. And a lot of my best, Magic in jokes come from being around them too. Like my greatest Magic accomplishment is not getting third in a PTQ. It's getting a man to get up and yell and slam the door. Like that's maximum achievement. That's when you know you got there. You made it happen.
Oh, I remember that.
That was wonderful. He was so mad, and I'm gonna remember that forever. But like that's great, and like all of that is fun. All the social in-person stuff is fun for me. And even though I wasn't playing Magic in person much anymore, for the longest time, I could tell what was going on in Magic. Because we could sit down and look over the tournaments every week. We could keep up with all the products coming out. I could go buy EDH decks that come out and at least get an idea of what's going on. I could do all that. I sort of lost the momentum, like Cluze was saying, when it got really hard to follow Magic. When the PR broke down, when the number of new products escalated, when you kind of had to spend all of your time keeping up with it, and I just couldn't anymore. Like my real work jobs picked up way harder, and I didn't have time for that. And for my spare time, I didn't want to look over, 300 new cards every 3 months and try to figure out what I liked and didn't, and then give up every Friday night to go play limited. That just wasn't really the thing for me anymore, but I could follow it. And doing the show got way harder when I couldn't follow it anymore, because then I just felt like I was an imposter, because like 3 of us are sitting here talking about standards that we haven't played. We're talking about strategies that we kind of figure out either on the air or right before, like rummaging through videos, like, okay, how does this deck work? All right, that's not intuitive at all. All right, well, we figured it out. We got there, and then we'd inevitably get something wrong anyway. Because I want you to remember that for a long time there, we didn't have the chat to correct us. We'd say something wrong, and we would find out on Tuesday afternoon when 50 people tweeted us about it. Like, we discovered everything after it was on record, and I really appreciate the chat here helping us out. But yeah, like, that was a thing. Like, the shift to video was kind of fun because it made things new and interesting again. But it was also just one of those things where, like, it coincided with Magic getting harder to cover. And I think the thing that finally got to us was, at least for me, the thing that finally got to me was when I could no longer find a top 8 list. Like, I used to populate that part of the show notes every Monday. I would go in and I'd find the SCG numbers. I'd find the Magic tournaments on like the Magic website. I'd pull all that in. I'd drop it in there. We'd figure it out. And then about the time it was like, so go to Channel Fireball. Now go to Twitter. Now try to figure out which order is the actual order and which one's the side tournament. Okay, now that you've done all of that, throw it all away because you're wrong. And I couldn't do it anymore. And all of this is like to the side of just the general shift in the way that WotC handles everything being something that bugs me. I've ranted about that enough that I'm not going to repeat it here, but you can find any of my WotC business rants throughout the last year or two. And so for me, like, if I'm not playing the game anymore and I'm mostly consuming it through the side media, and the side media is not great, and I can't follow any of what's going on in the actual game, it's really, really hard to keep talking about it. So that's kind of where I ended up in all of that.
Yeah.
Did any of that jog any memories of what you were going to say, Cluze?
No, I have no idea where I was. I had a great direction I was headed, and I just lost it.
All right. Well, just so I don't forget, hey, Chewie / Cluze. Unfusion dance so that I just get clues, and then give me a sky check because I need to know it's still there.
I actually cannot tell you if the sky is there because my sky is currently covered like from horizon to horizon with clouds.
Oh, so it might not be there.
I'm
saying it may not be there. It's possible that WotC was having some issues with printing and we don't get a sky.
Wait, is the sky curling? Is that why it's clouds?
Oh.
Did they just boil it and that's why? Is that the firmament?
It might be.
Oh, God.
Might be.
Oh, all right then.
But yeah, I think that Squee definitely hit something, on the head there, that the show, once WotC once things started to change, doing this show became like a second job. And I don't know about either you guys, but I'm not looking for another job. I barely have time for the one that I've got. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and actually this also ties into the other thing that's really important to understand. Once they weren't popping up tournaments on a week-to-week basis, like SCG was mostly for that. But once we got to this year and we no longer had the automatically assume Monday is Monday Night Magic thing, it got rough. It got super rough because we didn't know. Like, there were several weeks where it would be like 2 p.m. on a Monday and we're like, so what happened? And we're like, another secret layer? Okay, but like what else happened?
Yeah.
And we would go ask the Discord. We would go looking on Reddit, which we'd do everything we could to find out, and there just would never be enough. And then when we finally did an episode, it was three weeks worth of things, many of which weren't relevant anymore.
That's right.
And that just makes it harder to do a weekly show.
Yeah, the you might have noticed that in the plague times here, we've been on like an every 3 weeks roughly schedule. Yeah. Part of that is because nothing happened, because nothing happens, and part of that is because some days we just can't. Like there were periods, especially earlier in the plague, when we did like just chatting streams where we essentially did odds and ends as a stream instead of just for patrons. We just sat here and shot the breeze. And that's all we did. Yeah. Because either nothing was happening or we didn't care.
Hey, I remembered where I was going with that train.
Hey!
And I can either do that now or I wrote it down, so
go for it.
Okay. So, as I was starting to say, I'm not necessarily trying to speak for these yahoos, but I think I can say fairly confidently that most of what we do here on Monday Night Magic, that isn't just the three of us goofing off, you can find better sources for that elsewhere, right? We're not great limited players. There are podcasts for that. We're not great tournament players. There are podcasts for that. We're not specifically EDH players. There are podcasts for that. And what we tried to do is create and cultivate and grow a show where we gave you a little bit of all of that, a little bit of all of the news. But over time, the sources for that news became, and here I am harping on that soapbox again, became so fragmented that there was just no way any of us could keep up. It was just impossible.
Yeah, I have an entire channel in our Discord server that's just Monday Night Magic, where I ask people, hey, throw anything you see that might be good here. And then when people start discussing it in that channel, I'm like, nope, move that up to the MTG channel, because this channel's for me to find things.
Yeah. We had to crowdsource it.
There was a point in time when the Wizards website told you everything.
Yeah. I used to go to the mothership, which, by the way, just as an aside, when I first started listening to Magic podcasts, they kept referring to the mothership, and I had no idea what the hell they were talking about. Yeah, it was the WotC site. That was the mothership.
It doesn't really make sense as a mothership now that it isn't the one source for everything. Like
right.
It was.
But it used to be
a joke that it was like, here's like the daily thing that was like Blake's RSS feed.
Yeah,
we could just go through and see everything on one page.
And it used to be that I went there every day. It was like one of those, it was one of my bookmarks. Yes, I had bookmarks. It was one of my bookmarks that I opened every single day to see what was going on. And you can do that now, but it will do you no good.
Yeah. They use a lot of third parties for their announcements.
And they don't archive any of it. It's on the page for a day and then it disappears forever.
Yeah, you better leave that open in a tab, because come Monday, we're going to want to talk about that and you're never going to find it again.
They have a bunch of those. They do a lot more on video. A lot of stuff just gets thrown out on Twitter or in Reddit or random
Rosewater's
streamer.
Tumblr.
Yeah, Rosewater talks about it on his way to work. Like, who knows? It's just a lot. And, like, it's kind of sucks for us because this is probably the time when having one source for all of your news is the most valuable. But it's not actually possible. Like, we tried so hard. You can't find it all. We will always miss something, and it's not consciously deciding something doesn't matter most of the time.
Sometimes it is.
That are just dumb. But there's just too much, and it was way, way, way too much. And I didn't realize that I would reach a point in my life where I just missed the really old WotC website that just had like 4 new articles a day, and then like an Arcana thing at the bottom that was sometimes wallpapers. But you could look at it every day. You could find what you were looking for. If you needed to go back, you go to the archive page and find a whole week of stuff. Like, that was mostly the show notes, was a bunch of WotC links and then an SCG link for a tournament.
Yeah.
And then acknowledging that one SCG link is hiding 5 tournaments in it. So you thought this is going to be a quick show. You were wrong.
Very wrong.
But that was most of it. Like, that was most of what we had there. And that's not the case anymore.
Yeah. So what we tried to do was, at least this was my goal, was to try to be the voice of reason. Like, we wanted to show you all the news we found that we thought was worth talking about. and then try to be like the moderators. Try to, because there's lots of angry people talking about Magic, because as I've been saying for years, Magic players suck. They just do. A bunch of them are horribly entitled jerks, and I hate them. But that's the audience, apparently. And we would try to, like, look, everybody calm down, put away the torches and pitchforks, here's a realistic take on things. And we try to keep everyone on an even keel. You know, let's get upset at the things that matter. Let's not get upset at the things that don't matter. Plus, we were trying to be, you know, us. And
we also got on each other for that too, which is what I think a big strength of the show is, because like individually, the three of us would find a thing that really upset us. And having two other people going, okay, it's not actually that bad, goes a long way to show you that it's just one of us is upset.
Yeah. We all have, the three of us have similar values, but not exactly the same. So it was a good check. But even that, as WotC gets further and further and further away from the company that deserves the benefit of the doubt that I've been giving them for damn near 18 years now.
Yeah.
Like, we are famous for going, it's WotC's not evil, everybody calm down, you're blowing this out of proportion, to I think it might be evil now.
I'm still not convinced that they're purposefully evil.
Well,
I think they're terribly short-sighted in some of the things they've been doing lately. And yeah, I don't know. I just don't know anymore.
I don't think it really matters if they're evil or not. I think the point is, for a long time there, we could see that WotC was trying to do things that were not strictly making money at all costs. And that's not common in companies. So even if they weren't, you know, absolute good, it was nice. They were transparent, which is a wonderful trait.
Yeah.
They did openly discuss things, even if it made them look bad. They admitted mistakes. Like, we joke about it for a while that like they would walk back anything as soon as people got mad, but like because they cared. It wasn't just because people weren't going to buy their stuff. Because big surprise, no matter what you do, Magic players buy your product. That's how we got here. But like, as they've shed more and more of that, and you know, taken more and more out of it, like it's harder. Like, we kind of have to just treat them like a company. Like, we don't have this kind of, you know, friendly loyalty to most other products that we buy. And once you just start seeing them as a company, like, you don't really want to stand up for them. I've never really had a moment in my life where I'm like, yeah, but McDonald's is pretty good. Like, as an entity. It's like, no, like, they're here to give me exactly what I'm asking for. I'm giving them money. That is our business arrangement. I appreciate that they do charity work. I also acknowledge that they're probably killing lots of people with their food. Like, there's plenty of companies that I don't give that benefit of the doubt to, and WotC's well on its way to being one of those, if not already. I still think that the dynamic of Wizards of the Coast as a separate entity in our heads from Hasbro gives them more slack than they deserve. Because at the end of the day, whether or not Wizards of the Coast is trying its best, Hasbro is making the decisions, and we're still here. But again, we're talking about groups, not people. We talked about that last week, so don't take the wrong thing from that. But yeah, it's just harder. And when most of the shows turn into, and here's the next thing you can buy from them, you better buy it right now. FOMO, FOMO, FOMO. I'm not about that.
Yeah.
And that's what this year has been.
It's true. Here's a quick couple of examples from just the last week. So here is the download and activation of your digital products for the secret layers. And blah, 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 blah. And down here is a note. As soon as you unlock the activation key, you lose your right for a refund.
Which, by the way, is not how that works. But it probably deters a lot of people. It's just a scummy thing to say.
So, and this is just for the digital part of the secret layer, not... So, like, if you unlock your activation key, not even redeem it, but unlock it, and then decide, you know what, it's been 3 months, and they haven't sent me my secret lair yet. I wonder if I can get a refund. Well, no. Nope. Because you unlocked your activation key. Oh, yeah, and if your cards are damaged, but you unlocked the key, sorry, sucks to be you. Like, what?
Mean, if that happens to you, like, if you do get damaged cards, you can totally play but I'm not asking for a refund, I'm asking for a replacement, and they'll probably honor that. But I say probably. There was a point in my life where I'm like, oh, they'll totally do that. Now I'm just at probably.
Yeah.
And it's not as confident. But yeah, like, it's scummy. If you'd shown me this 3 or 4 years ago, I'd be like, well, someone mistranslated a thing, posted to another website to make them look bad. Like,
yeah. And then there's this Reddit post here that says it's an article that someone wrote on Reddit, which I didn't know was a thing until I saw this link that said, in Hasbro's 2019 annual report, there's a whole lot of words here, but they've decided that they want to double the revenue. Hasbro wants to double the revenue they get from Wizards of the Coast. So, and that's what we're seeing here lately, is lots and lots and lots of separate these people from their money hard.
Yeah.
And as someone who doesn't appreciate predatory business practices, that's all I'm seeing from Wizards of the Coast this year. And it drives me up the wall because, as we keep saying, for years it's been obvious that they cared about the health of the game and their players. But then Chris Cox took over and Hasbro became more a part of it, and the individual designers and whatnot still care about the players, obviously, but they don't matter.
They're not the ones that are driving the car.
Like, yeah, they're just
they're
in
the
the
ones
back.
that are looking at you from the back window like, oh, but they're not stopping the car and letting you on.
Exactly.
That's probably really weird to hear in just the audio version, so you're welcome.
It is, yeah. But, like, oh god, who was it that had the thread earlier? Evan Irwin, who's like, yeah, everything sucks, but Wizards is making an assload of money, so they're happy. And you know who else was making an assload of money and was happy, like, in the 90s?
Marvel?
Yeah, comic books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They went hard on short-term gains. And
This
what
is
happened?
So clear.
Oh,
Like,
it worked
so
fantastic
1-to-1.
right up until it didn't.
Yeah, then the bottom fell out, and comics haven't been the same since.
No. Like, if you ever wonder why we have these fights every few years about who gets custody of Spider-Man for movies, and why we don't get Fantastic Four movies that don't suck, and all of that, we're still suffering from bad choices Marvel made in the 90s.
Yeah.
Like, they start selling the pieces.
Marvel filed for Chapter 13. 13?
I don't remember which one they did. But yeah, suffice it to say, they had to reorg a lot, and they had to shed a lot, and choices had to be made. And they probably wouldn't have survived the 2000s if Disney didn't buy them.
Yeah. Do you know why? I had a thing there. Hang on.
Hey, same thing happened to me earlier.
Do you know what? Whoa, okay.
90s comics.
90s comics. Yeah, but they filed for bankruptcy, and they had to sell off rights to a bunch of stuff. That's why, like, Fox owned these, but Sony owned these, and someone else owned those, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And that's why they had the Kingpin in the Daredevil movie, but couldn't put him in the Spider-Man movie. And we had the Silver Surfer in the Fantastic Four movie, but we couldn't put him in something else. It's because the different, like, pieces were owned by different places because they were just selling them off to keep the lights on. And we're, as Bill said, we're still dealing with that today with the Venom movie is not a Marvel movie; it's a Sony movie, which is why it wasn't great. But
comic books in the 90s became this giant cash in on the idea that collectors would pay anything. The idea was, you hear one story of someone finding an old copy of, Action Comics where Superman debuts, or even the more recent stuff. It was like, oh, Amazing Fantasy number 15. That's the debut of Spider-Man. This comic's worth a fortune. And so everyone's like, comics are an investment. Let's buy things. Well, Magic kind of went through that mindset for a while. That's what the hashtag MTG Finance Bros live on. But like, it's not a good idea. And that's what these secret layers are. Like, yeah, it's only available for 1 week and you don't want to miss out because it'll be worth something. And it's like, no, there's too much.
I
it's
hate weaponized.
Super oversaturated. And it's going to be oversaturated and it's bad. And like, anyone who's ever watched what happens when things like Magic has been in and out of popularity, but it's sustained throughout time. Magic is the longest running TCG. Like, we've seen the coming and going of other games, but Magic has had its act together. And now it really feels like they're trying to cash out as hard as they can. And whether or not that's coming from Hasbro being like, hey, it turns out no one's buying Play-Doh, we need all your money, or it's a conscious decision on someone else's part, that's still what they're doing. And that's just miserable to watch, and it's miserable to report on.
Yeah, and every Hasbro earnings call, we see that Wizards of the Coast and Magic is the only thing making them any damn money, unless there was a Transformers movie that year. Mm-hmm. And Monopoly. For some reason, Monopoly still makes money, but I think that's because people across the world are stupid.
To any product that we can slap onto it.
I guess.
Which, look, it sells. I don't fault the business for that choice.
No, I fault the consumers for that one.
I don't.
No, it's important to teach children that games can be bad. They have to learn that at an early age. Might as well learn it from them. Also, it's fascinating to watch the experiment of how Monopoly comes with rules, and yet everyone plays it differently.
Yeah, and look, Magic has succeeded for as long as it has, in my opinion. Magic has succeeded for as long as it has because the people who were making it obviously loved the game. A lot of other games have come and gone in the time that Magic has been around. And there is a lot of nostalgia, and there is a lot of goodwill, and there are a lot of invested players. But that can only last so long. Every single person has a breaking point. And I'm really worried about the future of Magic. To be like 100% straight up, legit, I am really worried about the future of Magic. Because, man, what it's doing right now, it's just not right.
Yeah, they're converting goodwill into money.
And that works for a while.
Yeah, but only a while.
Yeah, to put it more in like actual Magic terms, if WotC has goodwill, it's like a life total. And they built a deck that has Necropotence in it. But also they're running Channel. And also they're running like 4 other cards that cost life. And they're going to have a really explosive 2 turns. And then they're going to lose or they're going to win. But unfortunately, they need to play long game because they're a company. And that's really hard to sustain.
Yeah, and casting the occasional Siphon Soul will get you some life, but not enough to fuel that deck.
Like, they might have been running a little bit low, so then they gave us War of the Spark and got everyone all hyped up again. Prior to that, they were running low, and they gave us Dominaria. But, like, you can only do that so often. And that well's getting dry. And right now, no one seems to be happy with so many decisions that they've made lately that will still make them money. But eventually people are just going to stop. And like, we don't have the weekly people at our game store that we go hang out with right now because we can't. So like during the most fragile time they've ever been, they're making really bad choices. And here we are. And that's really rough to talk about every week, and that's kind of why it's hard.
It is, and that's an interesting point that Vincent just made in the chat. If the movie and or Netflix series, remember the movie
there is no
and the
movie.
Netflix series?
Yeah, there is no movie.
Yeah, there isn't. But the Netflix series, maybe, which will be canceled after 2 seasons because that's how Netflix rolls. If those work, WotC won't care about everybody they're burning, and if they don't,
I mean, will the success of the Netflix series make them an assload of money all of a sudden that is sustainable?
I'm gonna go with no.
Or is that where they turn the corner? So do you know why comics are still around? Do you know why Disney hasn't just shut down Marvel Comics as a comics company?
Because go ahead.
It's the test market.
Yeah, because that's the breeding ground for the stuff that will later become like the horrible live service, god awful Anthem ripoff Marvel's The Avengers on game consoles and Steam now, and MCU movies and Disney Plus series and the stuff that makes real money.
Disney more than anyone understands the value of building loyalty to characters and brands over stories, narratives, and plots. Like, that's the entire Disney princess model. That's the entire Marvel model. Like, we like Marvel movies more than DC movies for the most part because we like the Marvel characters more than we like the portrayal of the DC characters. They're more fun. It's easy to quote. People figure out which one they are through an online thing. Like, no one takes a poll to find out which Robin they are. That doesn't happen. And if it does, I'm sorry you got the bad one.
Because there aren't any good ones.
Yeah, it's not great. The good ones stop being Robin.
Accurate.
But regardless, like, Disney knows that. And I felt for a while that Wizards had a good opportunity to do that because the multiverse is super easy to build things out with. But they keep writing bad books. And they keep upsetting their fan base. And even if they get an amazing TV show out of it, like, the money isn't in Netflix viewing. That's not how it works. The money is in the merch that ties into it. And the target audience of that is already giving them all their money. So they really need new people. And that's hard. Like, especially if no one can even understand how your game works.
Also, like, Marvel, God. Magic keeps having lots of, like, big things announced that evaporate. Like the movie. And there was gonna be a MOBA style game on mobile devices, like on phones, that evaporated. I think the rumor we heard is that turned into Magic Legends, which is the big oh god, not MOBA. What's the acronym? Freaking MMO thing that's like Diablo, which we haven't heard anything about in months now, but that's pretty normal. There have been several games that like pop out and have like a test audience in Scandinavian countries and then sort of disappear. Like, there's so much stuff that we're like, oh, maybe this will be good, and then it never happens. That we're like, well, piss.
Like, they have so many potential franchise hooks, and they have such a, like, all the settings alone offer everything that they need, and they could license it out to all sorts of stuff, but they just seem to keep making bad choices.
We did a whole episode on the Mana Pool years ago. Cap was on that show with us, where we looked at how you could turn Magic into different video game genres.
Yeah.
Like,
I went Magic Smash Brothers.
It would be, and it was a long episode because we kept having lots of different ideas. Like, the first thing that I came up with was like a SimCity style game set in Ravnica where you have to work with the different guilds. Doesn't that sound amazing? That sounds amazing. But you have to have people interested in that, and I don't know if that would ever take off, but that's just like the first idea. And what they settle on, like a Diablo style MMO game. What? All right, I guess. That's cool. I guess, hopefully.
Yeah, look, the thing is, at the end of the day, with where WotC is right now and with where we are right now, we can't do this show right now.
Yeah, and
plain
we were already thinking about this before the Plague Nation attacked.
Yeah.
But once the Plague Nation attacked, the world has been, at least this country, has been in a slow, miserable spiral since March. Like, it's something new every day. And to be perfectly honest, I don't have the headspace for this anymore.
Yeah. It's really hard to prioritize getting Magic news together when none of us play it, none of us care about it, and it just makes us angry. Like, I have way more fun talking to the chat or hopping on Chewie's, like, Among Us stream or all that stuff. Way more fun. And even if I don't always make it for the, like, being the person talking, I still like sitting in on the movie streams or some of the gaming streams. Like, I had fun just watching Chewie play Mario 64 a few weeks ago. Like, the social part is here. The part that I like the most is here. I just don't have to do the homework anymore. I like that. That's fun for me. Yeah. And I also want to emphasize that if Magic gets back to that, like if, things line up and things get to be more pleasant and the social interaction is better and we can interact with people and I can go to big events again and hang out with people, like 100% back in. I love this part. I just haven't had this part in a while, and so that's why it kind of sucks right now.
Yeah. But yeah, with the Plague Nation attacking, killing most of like competitive Magic at all, that took away most of our news. Mm-hmm. And then we had the all the protesting, and then it's an election year where it's like decent human beings versus fascists, and for some reason this is not an easy choice for some people, and there's just so much more important going on that there are some Mondays when I will check the news and be like, son of a bitch, we have to do a show this week. And that's usually the message I'll send to them. Son of a bitch, we have to do a show this week. Yeah. And they're like, and Cluze usually is the one who goes, do we have to though? And I'm like, yeah, we have to.
And it was usually bannings. Like, it was either bannings or major crisis happened.
Yeah.
Because it's not like we get a lot of other news that's like, oh, that can't wait a week. But yeah.
And that's not the attitude you want to have when you're doing a podcast. The son of a bitch, we have to do a show this week.
Yeah.
Like, a long time ago, I used to do, for Hearthstone, I used to do Brawling with Buddies every single week. And because there was a Tavern Brawl. And the Tavern Brawl was up for, I think, 4 days out of the week. And I would make a video where I played 3 or 4 games of the Tavern Brawl with someone and then turned it into a YouTube video. And it got to the point where on, like, Saturday night, I'd go, oh, God, I didn't do the Tavern Brawl this week. And I'd be scrambling, hey, does anybody want to do this with me this week? For God's sake, I have to get one done. And most of the time, someone would be like, yeah, I'll help, thank God. And I had to stop that because it became something that made me angry instead of something that I was like, all right, let's do the Tavern Brawl this week. It was, damn it, I have to do the Tavern Brawl. Yeah. And that's not good, so I stopped that.
That's kind of what weekly Overwatch turned into for us, too. Now we just go back for the skins, and that's mostly my fault.
That is all his fault.
It's my fault. Also, I'm going to be playing Overwatch this week because Halloween. But beyond that, yeah, like, back on break after that.
So, yeah, like, when stuff becomes painful to do, you should probably think about why you're doing it and if you should continue doing it. It took a couple months for me to finally be like, I'm just done with this Brawling with Buddies. And I was like, okay, y'all, sorry. And a bunch of people were sad. They're like, oh, but we love Brawling with Buddies. I'm like, I'm sorry, but I don't. I hate it. I actively hate it. And that's what Magic and WotC and Hasbro has become for me. It's something that I actively despise doing. And that's not good, because I still love Magic as a concept, as a game. The Mana Pool podcast, we're not going anywhere, because we don't do news. We talk about whatever the hell we want to. And if we wanted, we could just skip previews entirely. Yeah. Brian won't let us, but we could. So yeah, and like I said, this is not something that's new. We didn't decide, 2 weeks ago, hey, you guys think we should just stop at 700? Yeah, let's do that.
Confession time.
Yeah.
Chewie doesn't even know this, I don't believe. Squee and I were actually talking about not doing this anymore for several months before we talked to Chewie about possibly not doing this anymore. And we had no idea what he was going to say. And
you're right, I didn't know that.
When we broached the subject, he's like, nope, I agree. And I got to be honest,
Cluze.
I did not expect that.
No, it was, so if we're being really honest, I think for me, I started to fade out of it a little bit over a year ago. But then once WotC started really screwing up their PR game and shuffling organized play, I got interested again.
Because it became a train wreck.
It became a train wreck. A train wreck's neat.
But it was actually news, because every week we actually had news. Like, we weren't just doing tournament reports anymore. It was like, look at this thing. That's crazy. Can you believe they're doing that? I can't believe they're doing that. Everybody calm down, but also get hyped, but also calm down. This is crazy. And that's what it was for like 6 months. No one knew what was going on, but it was fascinating. It really kicked it up a bit. And then it started to wean off, and now it just became negative news. But for a while there, it was like exciting because we didn't know what was going to happen. And so like I was like already kind of like, and then when MTG Cast bit it, and out of nowhere we didn't have a show platform for a little while. That was oh, come on.
It was like a month or a month and a half or something.
Yeah, it was like a December to January problem or whatever. And we're just like, so what do we do? Where do we put the show?
And we had considered just stopping there and being, well, MTG Cast is gone. I guess we're done. And then MTG Cast got picked up by the Hipsters people and reinstated. And we were like, okay, let's keep going.
And to be clear, that was really good of them, because like running MTG Cast sucks. Like, it's a service that you're doing for the community. It's not how you get super rich. Like,
yeah, no. Luckily they've streamlined it all to where it's not costing them, gazillions of dollars, unlike
which is wonderful.
Previous iterations that were just hemorrhaging money.
Yeah.
And they're still like doing stuff. There was just another update to how things work on the back end like a month ago, I want to say. Not even a month ago.
They're happening. Like, if you're looking to start a Magic podcast, I mean, based on what I'm saying here, maybe don't. But if you want to, there's a place to do that still.
Yeah, it's still a place to get free hosting.
It's still an amazing option. And there's still good people. And there are still podcasts going up. Like, I was really afraid it was just going to be us. But no, other shows are still putting things out, and that's great. Magic podcasting is not dead. And it's not all just video. Like, there's still stuff out there, and that's wonderful. But yeah, it's just one of those things where there were several points where it was like, well, maybe now, maybe not. Maybe things get interesting again, maybe not. And then I think when we finally just hit the beginning of this year, when Cluze and I were sort of chatting on the side, it was like, man, this is miserable. So like, what do we do? Because like, I had this fear that if I said I'm out, then Cluze would be like, yeah, me too, because we've both been doing this for so long. And Chewie would be like, oh no. But Chewie was like, oh, thank God. He seemed relieved too. Because like, none of us wants to be the one that like, breaks a streak after so long. But admittedly, WotC actually made this a lot easier, because I was feeling really bad. And I'm like, you know what? Nah.
Yeah. WotC's downturn, or heel turn, to use a wrestling phrase, over the last several months has really made this... I expected to be a lot more emotional, honestly, than I am right now. I have an eyelash that keeps stabbing me in the eye, and that's the only reason that this eye is watering. But I really expected this to be harder, but the more we talk about our reasons for leaving, the more it sounds like a good idea.
And we're still here. We're not going anywhere.
Right.
We just don't have to do this part anymore for right now. Like, again, if Magic gets better and it's fun again, then what up? But
that's the thing. We're not really sticking a fork in it. It's not done. We're just we're just stepping away.
It just sucks right now, and it sucks bad.
And we just don't want to feel the pressure to keep sporadically putting out a show with stale news randomly. If the spark gets ignited again, we're back. But
oh yeah.
And I don't think any of us are, like going away completely. I mean, Chewie's still going to be doing the mana pool.
Yeah.
I'm sure Squee.
We still orbit around that, and we betray one another on probably a weekly basis for a little bit.
Squee and I will probably get involved with Chewie streams from time to time. So it's not like any of us are leaving completely.
Yeah, you two have an open invitation to our Friday night
Friendly Murder
Among Us streams by far. Like, I haven't gotten both of you on at once yet. That's the thing we need to do.
Yeah,
I don't trust Cluze.
That's fair.
I've been checking this guy for so long. He's got plans.
I'm pretty sus. I know Chewie likes that word, so.
Yeah.
So, I feel like we're kind of beating the dead horse again, and we're kind of circling around the thing. But we should probably
also this.
Accurate.
Yeah, for the audio people, this was made in the Discord server. It's Mo throwing Barney out of the bar. Barney is preview season, and then Mo brushing his hands off, and then suddenly preview season is behind Mo back in the bar.
Yeah.
And
which is accurate.
I don't remember who in the Discord made this without looking it up, but I can't look because then their cameras will go wonky. So
right.
Yeah. But yeah, we're still around. We're still nerds. We're still going to talk nerd stuff. You don't have to wait every Monday and wonder if we're going to be doing this. So
yeah. And I am still going to try to get these two on every once in a while. I was like, hey, we should talk about movies or something this week.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm totally up for that sort of thing.
We might have to get together for the Life Day special. It's important to celebrate.
It is.
It is. By the way, happy Thanksgiving to all of you Canadians out there.
Oh, yeah, indeed.
Because that's today.
The question is, will the odds and ends continue even if the Monday Night Magic stops?
I mean, the mana pool odds and ends will.
Well, I meant from time to time when we get together to chat about stuff.
I think if we just got together and chat about stuff, we'd probably just jump on an actual stream and interact with people. But
yeah, that's fair.
Figure that out. Yeah. I don't know what the odds and ends would be if we just kept adding M&M numbers to them just to make it more confusing.
Well, then we could take a page out of WotC's playbook and we'll just keep fragmenting. So
you're right.
That's right. It'll be
like M&M werewolf,
right?
And M&M vampire, and M&M Jace's shoes.
Definitely M&M Jace's shoes.
Oh, and then we could do M&M 651 remastered.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that's true. We could just take the best parts of those old conversations and ignore them, and then sell it anyway.
Right. Now, the downside is the newer versions, the re-releases of those will curl a lot more than the old ones.
That's for the curved monitors out there. You have to get a curved monitor and invert it so that you get a flat one.
Right.
But yeah, we're around. It's fine. It'll be cool. We will still see you.
Yeah, and it's entirely possible that Monday nights I'll be doing something entirely different. I'm thinking Monday Night Metroidvanias, which is something the chat recommended last week.
Yeah.
Because I've been meaning to. Friday nights were Friday Night Skyrim, and then it was gonna be. That's when I play something else that I don't have to record for YouTube, and it'll just be something long and fun. And I was like, oh, Metroidvania games, and then that turned into Among Us night.
At the risk of this being my last public opportunity to do this, you know what you could play on Monday nights, Chewie?
Oh my god.
Is it? Hang on.
Oh.
Is it Italian food? Big guy super?
You're so close. You're so dangerously close. You could play some Pizza Titan Ultra on Monday nights. It would be great. I mean, even if you just do it the once, and I come on to the stream, even just in the chat, so I can see you do it, I will have
There have been
job done.
There have been several times when I'm like, oh, I should play Pizza Titan Ultra, and then I remember you're like on a boat or camping or something, and I went, I should wait till Cluze is around for that.
Yeah.
Lord.
For those who don't know, I've been trying to get Chewie to play Pizza Titan Ultra since I got him a free code for it from the developer at a PAX.
And it's been just over a year now, I think.
Yeah.
It's still installed.
It's a good game, man.
It's installed on the right hard drive, right?
I mean, it's installed on the same hard drive all the games are installed on. So it's not currently installed because the hard drive.
There you go. See, you called me out on it. It's unplugged.
Oh, boy.
I hate you.
You should. Have we circled long enough?
Yeah, I think so.
All right.
But if you guys, tell you what, if you have any questions, let us know. We might do a post Eminem AMA at some point.
Crazy.
If I can talk them into it, and if you, want us to.
Yeah, like, as noted, we're not going back to our home planets or anything.
Yeah, Cluze did go back to his home planet a long time ago, and yet he's still here, so hey.
It was cool.
What?
Cluze.
No, not on Reddit. It would be like a stream/YouTube video.
Yeah, we're not monsters.
Yeah, I don't do Reddit. If I can help it.
You just ask us to go on Friendster while you're at it.
Yeah. It's like Reddit isn't as bad as like, hey, what's the Nazi Twitter parlay? Is that what it's called?
Oh god, that's terrifying.
Yeah, we're not gonna go there, but we're definitely not going to Reddit either.
Squee, there has been a question that's come up a couple of times in the chat.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're avoiding it or holding it off for an AMA, or if you want to address it now.
Like the origins?
Yeah, of Squee.
Like where the screen name came from? Because there are several cards.
Yeah, I believe they're asking about the screen name, not the...
Yeah, why you are Squee.
Oh, okay, so this is dumb. This is really quick. So there was about a week in, let's say, 2011 or 12-ish, where it became a trend on Twitter for people to just make cards based on Magic, or make Twitter names based on Magic cards. I think it really started on the Doomblade guy meme of just like, no matter how good the card is, if it dies to Doomblade, you call it crap. And so someone just became Doomblade guy and just started commenting crap on like every preview card that was a creature that could be killed by Doomblade. And so the joke just became, what of other Magic cards? And so a whole bunch of people made accounts that week. And I am stubborn. So I made one for Squee, the goblin, and thought it would be fun to just do that because Squee is a goblin who is capable of surviving stupid things. So you had the maximum potential to say stupid things and not worry about it. And the main hook of it for me was, what if Squee doesn't understand how hashtags work? So every single tweet gets a hashtag and none of them make any sense. None of them are useful. They are all just a phrase put at the end of it. And over the course of like 10 years, I eventually started using some of them properly. And I stopped using hashtags for like political things and whatnot. But that's really the entirety of the gag. It was fun. Squee is my favorite Magic character because of all the things I just said. But that's really it. That's the extent of it. Fun times.
There you go.
This all started on the Manipool forums. You can believe that. That's how time works.
The Card Shark forums featuring the Manipool.
That's true.
Back
I didn't know if
before
you wanted to name drop them or not, but yeah.
Back before they finally died. Card Shark didn't. It's still around, but the forums died a long time ago. And even before they died, there was no one there anymore.
It was like Manipool. Like once Magic Twitter took off, that kind of killed it.
Pretty much.
Prior to Magic Twitter taking off, we actually used a little chat box at the top and everything. But yeah, that was forever ago. Yeah, like if you want a sense of timing, I met Chewie at the Morningtide pre-release.
Was that it?
Yeah, I think that was it.
Yeah, that was the first pre-release we went to as a podcast.
Yeah. Because it was like right after the set came out, and you guys had just done your first previews and stuff.
Yeah.
And I met you there because I knew Mike.
Yeah.
Good times. And I got a mirror entity, and I did not use it properly. And that's how you learn. That is how you learn.
Well, I should do this thing that I always do one last time. Hey, someone just made a Humble Store purchase for $11.99.
Neat.
Awesome. Using my link, which you can do.
Was it Pizza Titan Ultra that they went and bought?
I don't think
that's
Pizza
a really
Titan
good
Ultra is
game.
$11.99, is it?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know. So with that, I should do this thing that I always do and thank the Mythic Lifeguards. So hey, by the way, if you want to help support what I do with all of the streaming and YouTubing and, well, single podcast now, then you can go to patreon.com/themanapool, sign up to be a lifeguard. You can get early access to the YouTube videos and the Manapool podcast. I was like, what's the other thing you get early access to?
Yeah.
You get the odds and ends, which I'm still working on. All of the odds and ends from previous Monday Night Magics will be going up, hopefully in short order, when I get my brain in a good spot. I've explained this last week. They're really depressed. I keep looking over there. That's where my whiteboard is that has the ones I need to do next in order. But they're really depressing for reasons, like I said, I went into it last week, whatever. Oh, and Kovo through 399 bits says, take the last of my summer points and thanks for the fish. At least he didn't say drink some water, asshole, because I'm out. That's usually what he does, is he throws bits and says, drink water, asshole, and I'm like, yes, sir, but I'm out of water. So that would have been sad. Thank you, Kovo. But anyway, yeah, and you get the sponsorship shout out on, well, this podcast and on the Manapool, and you get the you get your name on the end screen for all of the YouTube videos. So hey, I'd like to thank. Let's do it in this order.
Ooh, that order.
Turns out that's the order it was in already. I just reversed it.
Aha. Plot twist.
I don't want to do that order now. Let's do this order.
Second plot
Here
twist.
we go. So I'd like to thank Kim Maho, Jake Jansons, PJ McMullen, Timu Hellas Haru, Jason Kaus, Andrew Hunt, The Beast Father, Aaron Goodwine, Al, Cody Buckowing, Casey, John Parker, Jason Doan, Danny Liao, Jeff Spencer, Beardy Man, Aleph Cat, Scuzzo, Connor Kennedy, Gothic Man, Rafe Gall, Backwards Logic, and ALK Alters.
Yay. Thank you.
Hooray.
And thank you to all of the lifeguards at every tier. And thank you to all of you for sticking with us, whether you just showed up a couple episodes ago or if you've been here for damn ever. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it, and honestly, without you guys, we would not have done it this long.
That's very true.
Not even close. And Gloppy Rocks threw 2 bits and says, "Here's my 2 cents." Literally. Da-da-da.
You got him.
But yeah, seriously, and like we said, we're not going anywhere. Obviously, this is where I stream all the time, so I'm not going anywhere. The Manapool's still going to be happening, and these guys will still be around whenever I can corral them. Like I said,
True.
They have an open invitation for the Friday Night Among Us and for the Saturday watch parties. Just 100%. Whenever they want to jump in, they can jump in. By the way,
that our group chats go, we'll inevitably be like, hey, let's go do a thing where we talk about a thing once media happens again.
by the way, this week we're watching the Mask of Zorro, the first Banderas Zorro movie, and good. Red, the movie with Bruce Willis and John Malkovich, and Helen Mirren.
Neat.
There are more, but my brain refuses to show them to me.
Yeah.
So we're watching just awesome action movies this week that they have no relationship other than that because we couldn't think of anything else.
I mean, that's a good reason to watch action movies.
Yeah. Oh, and Al through 700 bits says, thank you 3 for doing this and keeping me sane. I've appreciated it so much over the years. Well, we appreciate you, Al.
We do.
And yeah, with that, I read the list, right? Yeah, I read the list.
Yeah, you read the list.
I guess we'll be done since this recording has now gone for 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
But also, Squee and Cluze, thank you so much.
Woo. Oh no, thank you
for joining me, because like Squee was a panic. God, Squee, I need someone help. Way back when I first started the show, and some weeks it was hard to get a co-host. I'm like, Bill, come on, dude, I need it. And Bill was like, all right. And then we brought Cluze on once after. Well, we met him. I don't think Bill was there for that.
No, I think
no. The first episode was Jack.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was me, and no, I meant when I met you in Charlotte. That was like me.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Mike.
I met you in Charlotte.
Oh, was Bill there?
Yeah,
for that too?
but the when I came on the show was right after you made top 8 in that like PTQ.
Yeah, because you were the judge of that event.
I was the judge for that. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so we met Cluze. This is me and Jack and maybe Bill and Squee. Not Bill and Squee are the same person, and I think Mike was there. And Cluze came up and introduced himself, said he was a fan of the show, and we were like, "Oh wow, that's awesome." And then he showed up as the judge for that PTQ that I happened to top 8. The one time I did that, and it was a lot of fun to hang out with Cluze there. So I was like, we should bring Cluze on the show for that episode, and he was like, sure. And then Cluze was so awesome that we just made him a part of the show.
Yeah.
And we had
Cluze, you've been a regular longer than me, right?
I think so. I think
because I was on the Mana Pool a lot, but I think
like a lot.
For Eminem, you've been here regular longer than me.
The thing that's always crazy to me is how many people think that I'm on the Mana Pool a lot, and I'm not. I've been on like 2 episodes.
But what really matters is that Eric Shaw probably thinks you're on the Mana Pool.
Is that what?
Wow, I just combined names again. Why do I do that? No.
Alex Shaw. Okay.
Alex Shaw.
Yeah.
I just completely combined 2 people, like what I did earlier in the episode. I'm still bad at this. Never play Overwatch with me. I'll say the wrong person is trying to snipe you.
Yeah. Squee is sus.
Totally. You should definitely get rid of both Eric and Shaw.
Yeah.
They're both it. They're in it together. That's why we call it that.
Exactly. Cluze isn't Brian. If I could convince more people of that.
Lord. So this went off the rails here at the end, but that's to be expected for Monday Night Magic.
At Cluze, just like in the show notes.
Yeah, that's right. I'm at Cluze. Yep. I do have one other thing because it came up in the chat earlier. I am thinking of resurrecting the Random Discard podcast in kind of a new format. It's something I've been toying with for a while, but I haven't had time. So if I need a creative outlet, that's probably going to happen. So
nice.
Watch out for that.
Yeah. And then I'm on Twitter to some amount of time. Sweet Goblin to Bob, no Iron Goblin because it was good against 90% of the non-eye decks, and so it went away. There's your last no Iron Goblin joke for a while. Enjoy.
And I'm at the Mana Pool on Twitter and everywhere. Although I warn you, if you follow me on Twitter, it's a whole lot of politics right now because we don't have the luxury of not paying attention to politics in this day and age, unfortunately.
It's true. That's part of why I'm not on Twitter as much as I used to be, because I get enough of that everywhere else.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So, yeah. But, and of course, come hang out here on twitch.tv/themanapool, where I stream stuff all the time. The Mana Pool still happens on Thursday nights, unless that needs to change for some reason. I really need to get back with the dorks and see. We settled on Thursdays a long time ago just because that's where everyone's schedules synced up, but I don't know if that's even necessary anymore. So I guess we'll find out. We'll F around and find out, as the kids say. But
Squeeze podcast is funny. It didn't make it to 10, it doesn't count.
That's true, yeah.
That means I never did it.
That's true.
It means it never happened.
But yeah, we have fooled around long enough, so seriously, thank you all so very much, and hopefully we'll be back. But as they said in the absolutely terrible Masters of the Universe movie, don't say goodbye, say good journey. So that's what I'll wish all of you. Have a good journey. Try to keep a level head. Don't grab up the torches and pitchforks. Just think, what would the M&M crew say? And try to maintain. Don't lose your minds. It's not that bad. Unless it is. And yes, go vote, for God's sake. Go vote. Please. Please go vote. Save us. And look, I'm starting to tear up right here at the very end. I can feel it. So I'm going to stop before the waterworks start on. So we love you guys. Thank you so much. And I guess I'll say it for old time's sake. Go play some Magic.